Welcome, everybody, to a Delco Nerd Network podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Ragucci, and here with a few friends in the Delaware County area, we get in a basement and we talk about a certain topic. Today's topic, let's talk about Xbox. Here to discuss, as always, the triple threat, Chris Trio.
Gooch. How are we today, man? How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic for a reason I won't say on the podcast just yet. Yeah. We'll wait.
It is some great news, though.
I'm sure I'm talking about it sooner rather than later. Probably next month on the podcast, but it has nothing to do with the podcast.
Just some good behind the scenes news.
Yeah, but dude, I mean, I've been having it's been a fucking great time for me. I don't know. I'm doing well. I'm doing very well.
It's a good May so far.
It's a good May. It's been a good 2024.
That's great, man.
I mean, I have a girlfriend now. I'm in my first relationship. We did FANEXPO.
We did.
Got trips coming up in the summer.
Yeah.
Like, you know, yeah, thanks for
fantastic
the
stuff. No, absolutely. Yeah. No, between everything, it's good stuff, man.
Yeah, shit's good. But I did want to talk about FANEXPO. You know, before we get into the topic, we do like to talk about what we've been up to. And of course, if you were at FANEXPO Philly 2024, we appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
We did a panel, which is live now. You can go watch at youtube.com/Delco Nerd Network or your favorite podcast service. Trio, how did you enjoy, not only, I mean, let's talk about FANEXPO from every perspective. We can talk about the behind the scenes now, I guess. Not that there's much, but yeah, how did you enjoy doing the panel, the con itself? It's been a while since you conned out.
It has been.
I don't like that. That's cheesy.
It's an interesting term.
You want to con out?
You want to con out with me? No, Gooch, I had a great time, man. It was my first time back since, I don't even know. I want to say maybe 2018, 2019. So it's been a while because I just, we talked about it before, but it used to be Wizard World. Now it's FANEXPO. It just felt like it was kind of petering out a little bit there.
Yeah. I mean, like 2 or 3 years, we were like, this is. But it was funny. Like comic book movies were at their apex.
Yeah, it's true.
And I think when I was on the floor, I was saying, we're probably at the lowest point in comic book
especially
movie popularity.
Back then, yeah.
Like
I would say it's higher than it was before the MCU still, but lower than it was peak MCU. Because before that, I feel like superhero. You had like Blade and X-Men.
Yeah. Okay, you're going that far back.
Yeah.
I mean, like since the MCU has been a thing, I think we've hit a new low in terms of just like MCU is kind of not on doing great.
Right.
DC is non-existent for right now. We're on a hiatus until they make those movies. Deadpool 3 is like the only thing coming up. But yeah, I mean. Yeah. Do you have anything else?
No, there was one thing I did want to talk about, the Superman reel, but we can do that right before we get into it, just as a little off tangent.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But no, yeah, dude, it was really great to be back. It was a really cool experience to be on stage. Of course, you took the helm and took care of us at Too Many Games last year, which was fantastic. But this was my first time on the big stage. It was cool. It was nice it was weird going from that point where we were sitting in the panel audience in the beginning of this to now being up on that stage. So that was a little bit surreal in some way. The crowd was fantastic. We had, a small but intimate group of folks that showed up that were really cool and really involved.
We had like 10 to 12 people come in. And I think, all things considered, Too Many Games kind of spoiled me. Like that ended up being such a audience that my biggest fear was are people going to show up? And we had so many people
at the first panel of the day too at FANEXPO.
Yeah, and Too Many Games. It was on Saturday, just like FANEXPO, but it was at the end of the day, and it was the way the panels were set up at Too Many Games, they're kind of on the floor, so you get a lot of foot traffic, people stopping for a few minutes, then going on, but that's constant. With FANEXPO, and probably any convention you go to the Philadelphia Convention Center, the panel rooms and the meeting rooms are very much off the beaten path.
Absolutely.
You really have to go out of your way to go down to
on
them.
A completely separate floor, like you're saying.
Yeah, and we were literally the first panel, 10:45 a.m. on that Saturday. And the con was only open for 45 minutes, so you're not getting a ton of people we want to sit down, let's go to a panel or something like that.
You've been walking around for an hour and a half. That's such a good point.
Right, a lot of people are already at the stage, a lot of people are on the floor and still walking around. We did go on the Friday. That's where we scoped out where the panel room was going to be, and we kind of did our majority walk through the floor.
Right.
I thought the floor, since COVID, I think the floor and the vendors and stuff has been really good. Statue game, weak.
Very
all-time low for
all-time low.
statues.
I didn't see a single Dune statue.
Yeah, we were saying.
I was like,
we were
there
saying,
has to be
there were
something,
there were some Dune cosplayers,
Definitely,
but we were saying like, oh, we'll probably see some Dune stuff, and we really didn't. Yeah, like there were a lot of anime statues, but
Definitely.
like not a lot of your like DC like trio
Bombshell,
Stargirl that I have now, the Bombshell line, and even like the Green Arrow, Black Canary one, like they used to be all over the place, and like I don't see any of them. Are you talking about the Joker? yeah.
I just thought about so we get to this one kiosk, and there's like an, I don't know, 1/3 size, like 1/3 scale.
It's a hefty boy.
It's probably 2 of these shelves at least. And it's just of Jared Leto's Joker from the end of the Snyder Cut. And honestly, it looks like a cool enough statue. But I'm like, man, who is spending $700 on that? And then we're kind of sitting there, and the guy comes up and he's like, hey, you want, he's like, that's actually $400. I've been trying to get rid of it. And I was like, it's 35 pounds. Yeah. And he's like, I gotta get rid of this thing. He's like, it was so funny. It was too perfect. But I was like, because there's 2 echelons you have to hit. 1, you have to be a big DC fan. 2, you have to be a big Jared Leto fan. 3, you have to be a Jared Leto Joker fan. So that's 3 layers of things you need to get through to get that.
Yeah, I did some autographs. I got some autographs from Vanessa Marshall, who voices Harrison Dula in Rebels, and
she had a good little moment with her.
Yeah, she does Black Canary in Injustice and Young Justice, and I think like 1 or 2 other DC related things, and then she's Strangelove in Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, and oh my god, who is the Olga Grolugovich in MGS2. So when we get around to those games, I'll probably.
It was definitely a Star. I mean, it was May the 4th, so it makes total sense. But the Star Wars folks were out in force.
Yeah, you have Ashley Eckstein, James Arnold Taylor, Matt
Lantern. I can't remember. There's one that we looked at. I think it was Lanton or Latner. Something.
Latner?
I can't remember.
Lantner?
Hold on.
Anyway, the guy who plays Anakin. Yeah, like it's so funny to see the animated
Lantern.
You see like the animated Star Wars folks out in droves. I mean, Rosario Dawson was there, Hayden Christensen was there. I don't know, like we were debating like Chevy Chase or Hayden Christensen is the biggest actor there. Like Hayden Christensen in one manner of speaking, but Chevy Chase in like another.
Yeah, he's like I think he's Chevy's the bygone era one where like the most of the people there aren't seeing him.
Gina Carano's line on Saturday was huge.
Yeah.
But Gina, besides Star Wars, wrestling, she just has that.
Oh, that's right. I forgot she was. Yeah. And listen, I know
she was big before she was an actor and then getting canceled.
Absolutely. And listen, people have their problems with her rightly or wrongly. I don't really care. But it's funny how like everyone who you talk, like I remember Giancarlo came out and was like, yeah, she was actually my like favorite person to work on The Mandalorian with. So she seems like a nice person enough to meet in line.
Yeah.
I would have loved to see. I am too. I would have loved to see Hayden Christensen, to be honest, but I just didn't. I just made a decision. I was just like, you know what? I'm not going to do any autographs.
I wanted to do Steve Downs and Jen Taylor, who do Master Chief and Cortana, and I'm like, I can't just do Cortana and not do Master Chief.
Yeah.
I got to do both. Their line, Steve Downs' line was fucking long. Yeah. I gotta admit, I was a bit surprised, but I'm like, it's Master Chief. Like,
I was gonna say.
Of course, everyone wants to talk to Steve Downs. Hopefully, they've been doing the con circuit a lot, so hopefully. I'll get him one of these
Keeps
days.
Going, yeah.
But to go behind the scenes on the panel, so Chaz did our Too Many Games thing, and he unfortunately couldn't make it. He had like a wedding anniversary weekend with his wife.
We get it. He's not committed to the podcast. No.
Yeah. Come on, Chaz. We can do better. So my dad stepped in, and that was our plan B. And I was like, hey, Dad, do you think you could do this? And he's like, sure. So my dad recorded the panel. There's Thanks, Dad. If he's listening. There's some good and some bad about that.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Ragucci. That was really kind of you.
So when your dad's recording the panel, you're a bit more probably in the weeds on things that like I wouldn't be with Chaz, where I'm just fully putting faith in him and I'm not worrying about things. With my dad, he's a photographer, but he's not like a videographer, video editor. I mean, he video edits.
Right.
He does those kind of things, but like on a different level. So I'm like a bit worried about things, and I edited the podcast and it turned out pretty good.
Fantastic.
He did a good job.
He killed it.
We were missing at the end. If you watch it, there's 9 seconds of footage for some reason. Like, I guess he was stopping the cameras like at the end,
right?
And I think the way, like the DSLR, the main one, like cut it up into like 10-minute segments.
I see.
So I think, and I was like swapping back and forth like pretty randomly, like between like the 3 views we had when I was editing, and I think it just for some reason there was 9 seconds missing, but I'm like that's not a huge deal.
I didn't even notice it while I was like skimming it either, and I did like watch like the very end. So I think it turned out very well.
If you looked away for 9 seconds and then you have to look
what's
back,
going on?
Yeah.
No, I didn't notice it at all. So I mean, dude, Mr. Ragucci, thank you so much. Genuinely, that was very kind. And you know, Chaz, we'll get you next time though.
Yeah,
but, it was really great stuff.
Doing these panels is always like a learning experience. I mean, I think we learned a lot just based on like time and day of like how that can affect the outcome.
100%.
But I think the topic was great. I think we just kind of really missed the mark on doing a Star Wars topic given the weekend.
Of course, yeah.
Like it's fun. We just didn't even think about it.
It didn't occur to me at all.
And I'm just like, wow.
Well,
like,
I don't think we looked at. Did we? We knew the dates probably by then,
but
right? When we submitted, but yeah.
When you think of May the 4th, you really think of like Star Wars.
It's not immediate, but it comes. Yeah, no, it's true.
Right.
Like that.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I agree. It is funny thinking back, but hey, I think we still did a good job. We basically just did a live podcast for everyone. Next time, I think we'll make it a little bit more panel-y.
Yeah, I think. Okay, so when I did the Too Many Games one, I wasn't watching the clock at all, and I managed to like get a good time, and we had between my segment and the Q&A segment, we timed it very well. I think I talked to Trio about this. I think we were a bit too like time watchy. Like I don't know if having the time going on our table like ended up helping us, because I think it made me too time cognizant. Like I thought about it like 2 or 3 times while we were talking, which is something we don't know unless we have a hard out.
Well, and that's what I think. That's why I think that's the nature. That's just the nature of the beast when it comes to doing a panel like that, because you have to be aware, you know. And I mean, people will come and tell you. I didn't feel like I was like clock watching. It didn't feel like that was on my head. It definitely made me like think about like, okay, we've talked enough about this kind of portion. We should probably move on.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I think if next time we want to maybe just carve out and be like, listen, let's leave last 5 minutes 4 questions.
Yeah, and people were commenting like as we were going, which was fine.
And we did say that
we said we were going to do a Q&A at the end, and then we got to the end and we didn't really have the time.
I feel like we kind of more went like, if we have some time at the end, we'll take some questions, but feel free to shout them out as we're going.
Yeah. It was a bit different. Like with Too Many Games, I like could not do that. There were like too many people. So and this room didn't have a mic for the audience, so it wouldn't have been mic'd. Whereas Too Many Games, there was a mic in the audience for that.
Right, you walk up and ask
and I just kind of felt bad because somebody did ask us a question. I'm like, oh fuck, like I wish we kind of got it on the podcast. But you know, it is what it is. You learn, you know, from those experiences. But the only other thing I haven't told you yet. So when I was getting the footage from my dad the next day, I decided to not go to the con on Sunday because it was. The thing about going to the convention center in city, and it's such a commitment.
It really is.
Like in terms of like finances and time. Like
I got my full that Friday, I will say. For the
going
most
up
part.
to the Oaks Convention Center is easy. You don't have to pay for park. It's like the same distance, but you don't have to pay, and you don't have to worry about parking.
Right.
You're gonna park there. You may have to walk to the entrance a little bit, but either way. So yeah, I decided not to go, and I went to my dad's on Sunday to pick up the stuff, and I brought like I have a DNN drive. It's like basically like a storage drive for all our old shit that's not on my computer. And we were transferring files, and something happened, and my drive got like corrupt in the middle of it. And I was really upset. This was like an old Xbox One hard drive that I formatted and like made the DNN drive to like get stuff off of my computer. So like I did this kind of recently, and like my dad was like, okay, like, you know, we're like still transferring these files. I haven't gotten them. We started uploading to Google Drive, and then my dad's like, you know, it's not as calm as I'm talking it to be. I was like frantic. I was like really upset. I lost like that's like a lot of stuff from
that's
our
like
podcast
all
of our like hard files. Well, not everything, but like
a good chunk.
The final, like I delete the raws. I save the finals.
Right.
You know, it's like kind of redundant. but my dad was able to like recover the drive, and I got all the stuff, and I went back over like that Sunday, and I got everything, and it was good. But I was like, oh my God, I like lost a lot of stuff that I don't want to lose.
Right. Yeah, no, it's good. I mean, dude, that's all it is. It's a lot
That's
of
what
stuff.
happens when you try to transfer like 30 gigs and like, you know, it's a ton of different files, like 3 different cameras, like, you know, if you're just bringing that home and then putting it on a computer, you're good. But it's like transferring huge files back and forth can be a bit weird. I mean, that can happen to anyone.
Sure.
You know, I don't think I've had big drives like go corrupt like that, but you can recover them if it's not too bad, and you just gotta know how to do it. You have to know how to do it.
Sure.
So you're not totally shit out of luck. But yeah, that was the FANEXPO. Good time. We'll hopefully do that again next year. Maybe, depends on when it. I think it's like the week after in May. Obviously we'll come around to that when we go.
Sure.
But we're hoping to do too many games this year. We should know within a few weeks exactly what's happening for that. I think once we get past Memorial Day, we'll probably have a very clear indication on.
You haven't bought tickets or anything yet?
No.
How much are they for like a day? Do you know off the top of your head by chance?
I think 60.
All right. I might bring Tamiris to that too.
Yeah. I'm gonna do the weekend.
All right.
Sure.
Do you know how much around the weekend might cost?
I think it's like 90.
Oh, really? Oh, so it's like
It
comparable
always pays to do the weekend.
All right. Well,
pass.
no, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I
Yeah.
mean,
And
I'm
you're
definitely
closer
going
to that.
exactly. So
Yeah,
I'm definitely
you're-
going Saturday. If not, I'll be there the whole weekend because I want to check it out regardless. I mean, hey, if we can get if the panel ends up working out, fantastic.
Yeah.
But,
So we'll be in touch about that. But
absolutely.
do you want to talk about games playing, movies or watching?
Sure, Gooch.
Oh, I did want to mention, by the way, our flow page, Linktree thing.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
real quickly, go for it.
yeah. So we just felt like there was some redundancy going on with like having two kind of link converging pages. So we're not deactivating it, but the flow page will no longer be linked in our bio and such and things like that. It'll just be kind of existing in our old podcast because we link to that. But otherwise, Linktree is going to be just from now on is just going to be our link platform where, you know, you click that, you can get to every page. You can get to our Spotify, you can get to our Apple, you can get to the latest YouTube channel. There's latest links on there.
Yeah,
the latest
clips,
podcasts.
the latest clips. Yeah, we'll still be using it for clips, but it's just formatted a bit differently. Yeah, we kind of, yeah, Trio kind of was like, isn't this kind of like redundant and like pointless? I'm like, yeah, but like originally the links, we were using a different thing, so like I had to pivot very quickly to be able to have something to like link out for the clips. So like that's why I started using Linktree. We originally didn't. I think it was called Hyper URL or something.
Right.
It created like a landing page for like that clips podcast and stuff. It was nice, but they were like, no, we're done. Like you can't use this thing at all anymore. And I think they went to like, I don't know if they changed like models or something. Like they changed their whole thing. Like the service is totally gone.
Interesting.
But yeah, that's why we switched to that originally.
Okay. No, that makes sense. But yeah, so just that's nothing crazy at all there. And you know, I just want to condense because like the whole point of that thing in our bio is that you just have the one link, you click on that one link, and you have the entire plethora of where you can reach us at, including, you know, our website and everything. I don't know if you can submit. If you ever want to get in contact with us, delconerds@gmail.com. That's definitely the way to do it. It's always in there. So yeah, that's really it on that end. Just kind of condensing and making things a bit more streamlined in the link perspective, but really not anything crazy. But Gooch, as far as what I've been playing, last night I finally watched something, or no, it was Friday night, that I feel like I should have watched a long time ago. And it's been a while.
Okay.
It's a film. It is War for the Planet of the Apes. I never saw it.
I've never seen any of them.
Dawn.
I mean,
Gooch,
I mean
we
the
might
newer
have
ones.
to do
Dawn, War.
It's Dawn, Rise, War.
Never
And then
seen
the
any
new
of
ones.
them.
That might be a rewind review. We might have to do that. They're fantastic films, but I never saw the third one. Woody Harrelson's really good in it.
Yeah.
I was kind of expecting a retread because, like, of the second one, it's in that moment where like it's kind of making that transition. There are still some humans and some apes. This one, it's definitely more leaning towards like, you know, humans are on the out. And they really kind of focus in on the apes, and like Caesar is truly the main character, which I appreciated a lot. The CGI in those movies are truly insane. Like some of the monkeys, I'm like, how,
Like the mocap
the
performance?
mocap. It's wild. I don't understand. In certain lights, it doesn't look amazing, of course, but 99% of the time, you could tell me it was a real ape, and I'd be like, okay, yeah, sounds good. And Andy Serkis, I mean, kills it in that role.
Are you gonna see the new one?
Yeah, I'm planning on it. I don't know if I'm gonna get to see it in theaters. I hope I am. I want to try and maybe sneak out and see it during a weekday next week.
Yeah.
But we shall see. It looks really good. It's getting good reviews, and I do like how they've really kind of organically grown this series and really have kind of made Caesar the focus of it. But now, of course, they're moving on to that because this is like 200 years in the future for this new one, The Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. And,
oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so it's like really kind of far-flung. There is, I think, a plot element, though, in the I think it's in the second one, where they launch, do the launch people into space, and they haven't brought them back yet, or they haven't really kind of said anything about that yet. So I wonder if that'll be brought up at all. Like, because that, the classic one where that's the story where he comes back to Earth, but he thinks he's on a different planet, and then he realizes it's that thing like, you ruined it. Yeah. So I'm curious if they're gonna do something.
That's
like
Charlton
that.
Heston, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Charlton Heston. Yeah.
No, it's Charlton Heston.
Is it Hest?
Yeah, it's not Heston. Charlton Heston.
Interesting.
Hest.
Either way, it's very good. I would recommend all three of those movies. I think they're really kind of fantastic. But that's really kind of it movie wise. I mean, we haven't really been watching anything else as far as games go, though.
Well, the only thing I had on here, and I guess we reviewed it, Invincible and Fallout. We got reviews on there. Sometimes I put the stuff we review in here just to like reiterate. We did watch those and we did review them.
Yeah,
so
we got full reviews on
check those podcasts out.
Absolutely. But as far as games go, Gooch, I finally finished the Arkham series. Yeah. I meant to respond to your criticism and where are the trophies, but I didn't get the chance. It'll come eventually someday. No, I did. I actually did platinum Arkham Asylum. That was
when you went back to
when
it?
I went back to it. But
okay.
I got to City and I was like, there's a lot here. Like it's a,
so maybe, did they add challenge map trophies to that too? Because like that was
I think so.
Night. I mean, it's not Knight's Platinum, but I guess in the 100%, like you have to do all those challenge map.
Yes. So
oh my god, that was brutal.
Arkham Asylum's a lot more reasonable in that respect. That didn't have a platinum either. They added it with the collection, I think, because there's like a gold trophy and then it has like
on
platinum.
PlayStation.
Yeah, and then it has
on
platinum
Xbox
trophy.
It does, yeah.
So I mean, dude, going through that series was a lot of fun. Origins is definitely the low point for sure. I know people love that, and I think it deserves less hate than it gets sometimes, which I don't know, maybe it doesn't get that much hate anymore, but it's definitely leagues below those games. Had a lot of fun getting back into that. But other than that, Cooch, I've been on a real, after Fallout 4, or Fallout, I should say, a Bethesda kick. I've been playing a lot of Fallout 4. Mm-hmm. You guys can all cry and moan all you want. I went back
to Fallout too.
I do fucking love that game a lot. I think it's like, especially going back to it, it's so like just easily digestible. Maybe that's bad in certain ways, but I thoroughly have been enjoying getting back to that. I picked up the Starfield update. It's been nice to kind of get back into that.
I want to get back into that. I'm again.
You got a lot going on. Yeah,
getting games off the plate, which I'll talk about in a sec. But
right, but yeah, no, it's nice. You got the 60 frames. The maps look great. I will say the new surface maps. Some really great little things in there, and it is nice to play at 60 frames for sure. But I haven't been playing a ton of it. Other than that, I just kind of wanted to jump back in and kind of test it out.
Starfield, it feels like a game that you don't play in these big chunks. It just feels like a game you kind of peck at.
I mean, yeah,
I don't know why. That's like unlike maybe like Skyrim or Fallout. Like for some reason, Starfield has I feel like a different consumability to it.
I think again, I will never argue with anyone on the fact of it is a completely different way of exploring compared to especially jumping back from that to when
Fallout. I go back, I am doing New Game Plus. I'm starting over.
Love it.
I think that's the way to do it.
No, I think so too. And I've been messing around with a lot of the mods, and I mean a lot of the
there are mods.
No,
now?
I'm sorry, the suit mods. I meant to say the suit mods and the different kind of planetary mods. I've been unlocking more of the shipbuilding inside the ship. Awesome.
Yeah,
that was a really cool addition. Cool. You can get blank cabs, which you can completely decorate, and then they still have the pre-furnished ones. Yeah. But the pre-furnished ones, you can't delete anything inside, so that's kind of set. Okay. But you can add things. You still can add things on top of it. But if there's a shelf or something that's already pre-fabbed in there, that stays. My ship in the last one that I built, I fucking love the Zatanna. It's so cool. I got so many different little walkways going around and stuff. I do wish there was more kind of windows, different types of windows that you could put on ships. But yeah, other than that, that's been really a lot of fun to jump back into. And then Fallout 3, actually, I've been kind of jumping around to too. It's been weird to go back to it. I've been having
PC,
it,
right?
I've been playing it on PC. I haven't had any issues when I loaded up. Any issues, I should say, when I loaded up on my second screen. But for some reason, when I try and load it onto my main screen on my laptop, it just crashes. So I don't know if I have to do something when I pull up my second screen next time and like maybe drag it over to my main.
Like
it's
we were saying before we started, like that game came out when games for Windows Live was a thing.
Yeah.
And it's so fucked because of that.
So there's things I was reading online where like a way to avoid that is running it in like compatibility mode. So like you have to like loads it through like Windows Vista, and then that apparently makes it work.
Yeah. That's why it's because of Vista. Yeah.
And that makes sense. So it is interesting. Otherwise though, I haven't had any issues with it. It's been cool to go back to. Man, that game's so. I was listening to Maddie talk about it. Apparently there's been a rumored remake or like remaster for that in a while.
Yeah.
All you have to do for that game. And he said it in his video. I completely agree. Give me the ability to sprint. Give me the ability to look down my sights and make it look like... You don't need to make it look less green because I think that's part of it. Just make it look a bit nicer. That's all you have to do. And I think you could sell that game easily.
I shudder to be like put it in Fallout 4's engine set because I'm just like, ew.
Why?
Because I think Fallout 4 has a aesthetic to it that Fallout 3 and New Vegas don't have, and I think that's part of the charm.
In what way? In like the
just the way the characters look and sound.
Sure.
And feel.
Would you say the same for like Oblivion versus Skyrim?
I mean, it's like if you're remastering Oblivion, you can't redo the voices.
Exactly.
You just can't.
Well, and that's what I mean. Even with Fallout, I think like I don't know. I think you could just put that in Fallout 4's engine and just make it, just give that dialogue.
I think I just don't like some of like the faces and like the hairstyles.
It is funny going back.
All men look like these like pompadour people.
Yeah.
Like like these greaser looking dudes, and like there is some of that in Fallout 3 and New Vegas, but like it's just not as prevalent, and it doesn't feel like everyone looks like that. But
no, what's funny? I do notice when I keep seeing videos with people online that they're, and I think this happens with Fallout 3 even to a major degree. That I'm noticing, but like a lot of male models look the same, and even the female, like you can only, unless you really mess with the face, a lot of I feel like of created characters kind of end up looking very similar. And listen, everyone can joke or whatever, and I do definitely agree to a point, but like Starfield does look so much better, like facial animation wise and texture wise and stuff like that. It is like hilarious, kind of going back and forth between that. But no, I get what you mean. I would love to see that retouched and retooled to just make it a little bit more digestible in the way for a modern audience. But I still think you can easily go back to that. I have really been flirting hard, Gooch. Hard.
Whoa, dude.
With
Flirting?
Flirting.
You have a girlfriend.
I know. This is with a video game. Don't worry. Fallout 1 and 2 are on Xbox on PC.
What?
Fallout 1 and 2, the originals, are on Xbox Game Pass. And I was thinking...
On PC?
On PC.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was thinking about trying to dive into
I would love to hear that you do that. I
kind of didn't even want to bring it up until... Because you know what I've been actually playing a good bit, like a little bit of?
What?
Morrowind.
Really?
Yeah.
On PC?
And that's been interesting. Again, it's...
Morrowind is pretty interesting.
It's wild. And I got to say, I do get what people say in the way of like, man, there is a charm to it and how... I didn't realize how much you have to read in that game and how like the voice acting works comparatively and stuff like that. And I do think that does allow you to just like, have so much more dialogue and things like that to a degree, which is interesting.
Right.
The world's definitely a little tough to look at sometimes. The draw distances. I love the music sounds great. But the draw distance is very short. I don't know if I can change that and stuff. There isn't a ton of PC options to like fuck with it.
Yeah, it's old.
It's an old one, yeah. But
I'm sure there's a ton of mods, but
oh, absolutely.
You kind of fuck with your game the more you mod it. I feel like over time, like mods were such a cool thing, but it's just like you can mod Skyrim to the point where it's just not
unrecognizable.
Skyrim
Did you see
anymore.
that thing where someone modded Starfield to look like into Star Wars? Like is like over 150 mods, and he's like dressed like it looks pretty hilarious.
I saw the Mandalorian part of it. I don't think I looked into it anymore.
It was cool. They had like all the aliens going around and everything.
Yeah.
But no, and listen, I do like how moddable those games are, but I just am still. I've tried looking into it, and I've tried using the launcher that Dylan in our Discord has talked about, and it does seem really easy and user friendly. But I'm just too afraid to fuck with like that stuff. Like it's just a little bit above my pay grade.
Okay.
And how to like add
I can understand that. It is a bit intimidating.
it's probably easier than I'm making it out to be completely honest.
like,
but it's just
the last time I played Fallout 3 was in like 2016 or 17, and I modded it on PC, and I don't think it was that fun.
right.
I think it kind of ruins something. You get unbalanced and stuff,
Right.
Or like, you know, those games have terrible balance with their difficulty anyway. So
Especially, I feel like Fallout 3, I've been noticing that especially. 4 has been, I've been playing on hard, and I've actually been liking it more on 4 because it actually feels a little bit more balanced. But no, I've definitely noticed that. Like, I was just trying, I'm like, man, I can't find any quests. I really have like such vague memories of 3 that.
Really?
I didn't play.
I remember 3
3
really
is
well.
the one I remember very. Or I'm sorry, New Vegas is the one I feel like I played a lot and remember very well. I played 3, I think, once comparatively.
Yeah.
Like all the way through. So, and I haven't played all the DLCs. So that's another reason I kind of.
great.
Yeah, I've
What
only
haven't you
played, Mothership Zeta. That was the only one.
Wow.
So
okay.
I want to play
All the
Oh
DLC
no, I played Anchorage too. Actually,
all the DLCs in 3 are, besides Broken Steel, are like very disconnected in their own thing. And New Vegas does that, where they kind of like take your weapons away and like you're clean slated for the DLC. I don't know why they decided to do that. It's an interesting approach, but in a way that kind of sucks because the DLC really isn't tied into anything that's going on in Fallout 3. It's like Mothership Zeta is just, here's this random DLC.
Yeah, random, yeah.
Anchorage kind of makes sense in lore perspective, but like, again, you're just like, you're playing as in like VR. You know?
and it's like a very linear level like type design. I remember.
You know, I'll talk about my own Fallout experience real quick because we're talking about it, and I'll kick it back to you if you have anything
No, that's
else.
actually the end for me. So
Okay,
we're good,
yeah. So I've been consuming a ton of like Fallout video essay content, like hours upon hours, just as we got into the show. Like I really got into Fallout
I've been listening
again.
to a lot too.
I really want a Fallout 1 and 2 remaster, get on console. Let's get the trophy list, achievement list. I would love to see that happen. I think that needs to happen over the Fallout 3 remaster. But I went back to 76. There was Atlantic City update that added some achievements, so you know, as I do, I must return.
I thought you said I lost you. I told you to get on the one day.
And I told you, and I'm like,
You're like, it's over.
And I'm like,
It's
yeah,
so funny,
yeah, dude. Every time I go, Fallout 76 is a really colored game for me. I'm sure if you're starting it from scratch and you don't have this bias and you don't know what the game is, and you're going in for the first time with all the bells and whistles and the polish it now has and the community, I think it's a much better experience. But I go in and I'm really over leveled and stuff is still really hard, and I feel like I don't always have like the greatest equipment, and I go in and I get my achievements. I spend like a day or two doing it and I'm out.
You're one of the ghosts, Scooch. That guy, what that guy mentioned in the chat. I was a ghost for Red Dead Online, where I'm just that's how I feel when I log into that, where I'm just like, I'm overpowered. I have like everything. I can't really do anything. It's just
I had to do some like the new story content that's in Atlantic City, and it's just, dude, I don't do this. I skip through it all. I just don't care.
Right.
Like, I'm not interested. I don't think this is that good. This game is far beyond my attention.
Right.
I'll give it my time and go back and do the achievements I needed to do just to, get my 100% back. But I there's no way I could like seriously play Fallout 76 like for an extended period of time other than going back and getting achievements. Yeah, like you did ask me, and I know I know. Yeah, you did like, hey, do you want to play? And I'm like, no, and I'm like, because when I do play, or if I already did, I'm going back to do my thing, and that's it.
That's that, yeah.
Yeah, like it is a weird kind of like game. It has a fucking diehard community.
A really cool community, it seems. Yeah,
and you if go watch some like videos on people like revisiting it, you hear like a lot of like very nice heartfelt stories of people going back to play it, but. I went back for my dirty ways of achievement hunting.
I mean, listen, I'll give them credit. They turned that, and I'll say this up front. It should have been that way to start, like every game. Like, it does annoy me with Cyberpunk how that gets like this. Look, this game was always this good. It was amazing. No, they lied to us like straight up for a long time, and they deserve, like, the developers deserve all the press, all the press that they're getting now, but. That is a big issue, and Todd Howard did lie, especially at the beginning of 76. I don't know if it was, I can't remember, as egregious as that. But,
16 times the detail.
Right, yeah.
To quote the meme.
Right.
To quote the meme. Well, Todd himself as well.
Yeah, I think that, like, Bethesda deserves some kudos to a degree, at the very least, that they stuck with this. They could have easily been like, okay, See ya.
The
and just throw
show
it
won
away.
them back a lot of good graces, but I heard the Fallout 4 next gen update was kind of rough.
Yeah.
I haven't heard much about the Starfield update. Seems like that kind of came out, and I guess it's fine.
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything bad about
but
it.
again, I don't think that's not even, again, that's not an update that's going to change you on Starfield, in my opinion. Like, there's no,
but
like,
it's a pretty big update. It's
For
like their
sure.
first really big update. it
no,
seems,
for
right?
sure. But like, I just, the only thing, I don't think anything's good. Like, if you don't like Starfield, I don't know what they could put in there that's going to make, besides maybe a vehicle, which they're working on.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to change you on that. So, like, truthfully, I think that's kind of left where it's at, and that's just more to say that's what it is.
What kind of is cool for the Fallout 4 update is it has a separate trophy list on PlayStation.
Oh, really?
But because how for Skyrim there are like 3 versions of it.
Right.
For like Xbox there isn't. It's just the same version of Fallout 4. It's
because
not
they
like
just get updated, right? Well,
Right.
and I think that's because that's how PlayStation's thing works, where like they have the 2 different versions. So
right.
that would make sense to me.
Right. It's now a PS5 game.
Yeah.
But didn't that fuck up like the upgrade stuff? Getting that? Like you had to pay for it or something?
Oh no, I think that was like a mistake. Like it wasn't loading for people who had it through who had it for free through PS Plus.
Yeah.
And like they I think they fixed
that was
it.
rectified?
Yeah. I'm pretty confident that was rectified. But yeah, I did have an issue with Nick. He got like permanently downed, so I lost like 2 hours. That annoyed me.
You had an issue with Nick.
Nick Valentine. He was my with Nick, man. Come on, Nick.
I mean, I was like,
I'm joking.
who's
Yeah.
Nick?
Who the fuck is Nick?
Like Nick Valentine.
He got like permanently down, but then I went back.
That permanently kind of down.
Yeah, like he was like
I didn't
he was
understand.
always like just like down on the floor and like he couldn't do it. Like he's like wait, he has his thing and he's like sitting down. He's like, ugh. But yeah, that was kind of annoying. But yeah,
another game I went back to because of a TV show. I hated Halo so much. I went back to play Halo Infinite.
you need to clean the palette with the good. It's like me with the Arkham games.
And I started talking about this in the last podcast. I have now done Lasso on Halo Infinite. I got like all the campaign achievements. I got a lot of multiplayer achievements done. Like I just said, I did Lasso, which is legendary all skulls on for the campaign, which is a pretty cool, pretty challenging experience. But Gooch gets through it. But yeah, I love returning to Infinite and kind of jumping right back in onto Zeta Halo and just kind of like banging some Banished out of the water.
You're banging Banished.
Yeah, with my guns. And just kind of like jumping back into Halo. I've always kind of been like, not always. I've been playing the multiplayer again a bit recently, but I'm really talking about the campaign.
Right.
I really hope, I know it's not going to happen, but I would love to see a campaign DLC expansion for that game like they sort of teased. But the only thing I have left, I have one.
Didn't they say that? Didn't they go even further than teasing it? Like when didn't they like announce that it was going to happen, or did they not?
Yeah, I mean with like Eshram or not? Is it Atriox? Atriox. Yeah, Atriox like at the end. Yeah. And the only thing I have left for achievement wise for Halo Infinite is I have one multiplayer achievement left, and I have to, which is weird. I have to, the Razorback, the transport hog.
Yes.
You have to get like. There's a medal where you honk the horn and like everyone gets in within a certain amount of time and you get a medal. I need to do that with that vehicle, and it's like doesn't spawn on like a lot of maps, so I really got to like find a map, get it, and get people to like get in the fucking car.
Right.
So I get my achievement. And then I was actually talking to Kathy because we're like, oh, like we were my girlfriend, of like, oh, like what games can we play? And I was like, well. I'm getting my girlfriend roped into helping me get achievements. I'm like, I need to like get like co-op. There's a whole list of new co-op achievements for Infinite, and I'm like, yeah, I need to do that. I was like, do you want to do that and with me? And she's like, sure. And like I guess like it's nothing like super difficult, so we're just gonna like you'll play it probably on a lower difficulty and like go through Infinite. So
love it.
That's a future
on
thing.
The list. Yeah.
I beat Banishers. I got all the achievements in Banishers. Go check out our review for that. One of my AA champions. You're shaking that leg, and I can hear that all the way.
It's because of this.
The pant.
So yeah, it's the pant. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I just
I'll
hear
keep it. No, I noticed it.
Finished Dragon's Dogma 2 this weekend. I will have all the achievements done by the time we review it. That's going to probably be our next podcast on the 2nd.
Yep.
So I guess we're formally announcing that.
Live.
Yeah, Andre Vufung is coming back. He is our resident Dragon's Dogma fucking super fan. I don't know anyone who knows more about that game than him, so it's going to be nice to kind of get a guest back on, and especially him. Last time he was on was Pentiment, and he was on for Strangers of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origins. So look forward to that.
Absolutely.
I'll talk about that more, but loved my last few hours with that game. The last, like, the unmoored world, the last like few hours were really my favorite. I got some likes and some dislikes, but I feel like that game's gonna be a game of the year contendee, possibly. It's hard to think about like what our games of the year are. I think Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is sadly probably in that category. I don't think it is personally
so far,
but like we don't have like these big hits yet for this year.
No, it's true. I'm trying to think like what's the other biggest game?
Like Stellar Blade, probably, which I'm about to talk about. I mean, we've both been playing that.
Yeah, I didn't really. Yeah, it's funny. I didn't really say much just because we'll definitely get to the review on that. But that has been a lot of fun for sure.
Yeah, I'm really liking Stellar Blade. That was a pickup that I was really on the edge about. I didn't know if I wanted to get it, basically because I didn't know if I felt like spending the money. But
same, yeah.
I'm kind of glad I picked it up. It's a bit outside of my wheelhouse, but I'm having a real good time with it. It's fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you have anything else?
No, I would say it's a very approachable. I keep hearing them talk about this on Last Stand stuff with Colin. Like, we need a real kind of you hear Souls-like all the time.
It's not,
but I think it's Souls-like in the way that Jedi Fallen Order is.
Yes, but
it's not nearly as punishing. I think that there's a lot of the same like ideas for sure.
I'm not gonna compare it to Souls like when we review it purposely.
Interesting,
because I just don't think it really is. I think it's more like Devil May Cry or like a game along the lines of that. It has elements that you find in Souls like games, but I don't think it is a Souls like game at all. Jedi Fallen Order kind of is, because it does predicate on this like difficulty thing in a way.
Sure. But that you can even turn it to easy.
Yeah.
So it is interesting. Again, I think like,
but like
I would say it's more Souls-like than it's not.
You drop your XP and you got to go get it. That's not a mechanic in Stellar Blade.
Sure.
Stellar Blade has, its narrative is told, straightforward. I mean, I know Star Wars is like that, but like, your typical Souls game tell narrative in a different way.
Souls like again, yeah, sure.
I do enjoy dressing up Eve.
Of course.
I will be honest, I am enjoying her character a lot. I think it's just really weird to say, like kind of refreshing.
Sure.
Like I know her sexuality and what she looks like has been so like headlined up and like been such a topic of conversation. But if you can have her and you have a character in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth called Dio who is in his underwear and is super buff, you can have both.
Exactly.
Like they're fine. Like there's no issue here.
Listen, I think that there's
like it's just the way she looks, and like Gene Park's review on Stellar Blade really lays out why that is. And when I think you understand and you actually like fully grasp the cultural reasons behind it, you'll lay the fuck off.
Really,
it's a ridiculous conversation.
The only thing that annoys me with that genuinely is just when people are like, "Oh, seems like someone hasn't seen a real girl. Haven't you seen a real woman, Gooch?" Jeez. Yes, I have. Women can look like that. It's not the regular. Absolutely. But guess what? Who was that? Who were you just talking about in Final Fantasy?
Dio.
Not a lot of people are out there looking like Dio unless they're on
Megaton this guy's roided out and he's wearing nothing.
Again, it's that thing of like...
and he's got a really twisty mustache.
And this is very internet-centric problem, which again, I think it's like... I'm of two minds of the thing when it's like, well, this is an internet problem because like... That's kind of dismissal, but at the same time, I do agree with it.
No, it's. I don't think it's dismissal at all.
In the way of like, yeah, for sure. Like it just exists on Twitter. But I do think that there is, a different legacy with like, women being sexualized in media and stuff like that, maybe to more of a degree than men. So I think there's a fair like, line of questioning there. But we've gotten to this point where it's just like, all right, let's be at least consistent if you want to be like that, because you just never hear. Again, I loved your example when we were talking about Love and Thunder, where it was like, we can show Chris Hemsworth's ass,
and that's okay
for a clearly gawking reason, and everything's gonna be fine.
And we can be really horny about Hades 2 and the way characters look in that, but when it comes to Stellar Blade, it's not okay. But we can literally jerk off and finger ourselves on Twitter about Hades 2.
Well, that's
because people do. Like Hades, and Hades 1, they did the same thing. And I'm like, you guys are like fucked up to begin with, to be like really into this to the point where you're like getting wet in your words on Twitter. Like, it's gross. Like you can be into that. And like I said, like the sexuality is appealing, but like the level in which the conversation is strange.
Absolutely.
We'll talk about it.
We can move on. And we'll talk about more.
I got two more things. So with Paramount Plus, when we watched Halo, I got to the South Park specials. I'm not sure if you're keeping up with South Park.
I haven't, since I haven't had
I don't like the specials, man.
Yeah.
I think, here's the reason. I think their jokes go on for too long because the episodes are too long. They're like 45 to an hour, and I just feel like instead of like the 25-minute South Park episode that we got on Comedy Central, Paramount Plus' specials are that long, and the joke has to now be elongated like 3 times the length.
It feels like we've moved on from and we did a while ago, move on from the era of South Park where it was kind of just random episodes about random stuff to
there's like a storyline
going on,
which I'm fine with. But
I liked it better when they did like 3-episode arcs and stuff like that. But I feel like it's been kind of, and I guess you need to change things after a while. You don't want everything to go back to like, you know, that's the problem like comics have, where it just gets back to the status quo immediately. But I don't know. I agree with you. I haven't felt the need to like keep up with South Park at all since I haven't had cable.
If they went back to like doing their typical seasons on Comedy Central, I'd be fine with it. But it's just like these special things that I just don't find all that fun. One more thing, and I'm gonna really into this because we're gonna talk about the Xbox controllers. All right. So I bought a Stellar Shift controller, which is over there. I wish I could just,
it's like the purple one, right?
It.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like about 1.5 years ago at this point. And I noticed a few weeks ago my LB button was getting soft on me. And I told Trio, and I think we were talking about it, and I think you said something about one of your buttons on my
Elite controller.
Yeah, your Elite controller. And over time it just broke. And I'm like, fuck. Okay. It's not working anymore. Okay, so I'll go back to my my standard launch controller. That LB button broke not 2 days after using it. So both my LB buttons on my Xbox Series X controllers were busted. So at this point, I'm like, I guess I have to buy the torque security screwdrivers to open this bad boy up and see if I can fix it, what the problem is, yada yada. Great thing about the Xbox controller is it is designed to be opened. Xbox has a lot of information about replacing parts in there, replacing buttons, replacing sticks, taking it apart. They do it themselves and they show you. Yeah. That's awesome. I don't think the DualShock 4 is the same way.
Doesn't matter though. That's not part.
Yeah, it doesn't.
I love you, but PlayStation doesn't do that.
I don't know, but I don't know what it would take to open the controller and try to fix a part yourself.
I definitely think theirs are not made for that in the same way Xbox is, for sure.
Yeah.
The PlayStation 1.
Yeah. Okay, so...
But I don't know.
I got my torque screwdrivers. I opened it up. I did discover that the bumper, the plastic piece that touches the button, broke on both of them. I originally tried to Gorilla Glue it. My shift controller worked for a little while. It broke. Or sorry, my original Xbox controller, the glue held for a while, and then after a week, it got busted again. And then I tried to do the same thing with my Stellar Shift controller, and it wouldn't work at all. I couldn't get the glue to fix, and then when I put it on, and it wouldn't click. So then I was like, all right, I can just buy new bumpers. So I bought new bumpers, and I put them on the controller, and we're good. So I fixed my controller. I didn't have to. I asked the repair guy if he could fix it, and he's like, "It'll be $80." I'm like, "Yeah, no thanks."
Yeah,
I could literally buy a new controller for that much. Yeah. And then he like downcharged me to $40, and I'm like, "Still no."
Yeah, because I did it. $20 more to get.
I think I spent like $20 on parts and screwdrivers to fix it, but I did fix it. My Stellar Shift LB and RB are black because I got a black one for my black launch one, so they don't match. That was, I think, my only complaint. I wish I could buy the color that the Stellar Shift bumpers are. I can't do that, and I think there's like a lot of like custom parts you can buy for the Xbox controllers, but it's not the exact purple that this color is. So I fixed my controllers. Long story short, I guess I'm glad Xbox allows me to do that, but it sucks it happened to begin with.
Yeah, so my Elite controller costs $120. I got new bumpers for it. The A button's getting mushy, and the right bumper is And listen, I'm not no dirty gamer. I'm watching my hands. I don't eat with while I'm gaming.
He washes his hands to play those games.
To play those games, you need to, especially after playing Stellar Blade. But you need listen. I'm keeping my controller clean, so the A should not be getting mushy. Then my RB just isn't registering. I'm clicking it. Click, 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 click.
It's clicking though.
It's clicking. I heard a click, but and it was
because mine was soft, so
no that's click. Not what was happening. Yeah, it felt more soft on my A button, but then so I take it all apart, I get it down to the baseboard, and I put in the new and the thing's not broken. The bumpers really look fine, and I replaced them. I put the new ones in, and I trying it again. I have the test thing up on the TV where you can press the buttons and it says if it's recording, and it's the sensor that the button sensor that the actual thing pushes down on in the center of the controller, it just is not working correctly.
Is that something you can replace?
It looks like it's welded onto the base I don't think that's something. I mean, I might be able to, but honestly at that point I might just get a new controller. So I just went back to my old one, my crappier controller, because I'm trying to play Fallout and I'm trying to throw a grenade. You need to hold the RB, and it's registering it, but it's not holding it down.
Wait, this is your old controller?
No, this is my Elite controller when I was trying to use it.
Okay.
So, but no, my old controller works fine. My red one, it's just a base Xbox controller. But that does frustrate me. That's a $120 controller. I got a year and a half out of it.
I looked up to see if I had a warranty on my Stellar Shift, and the warranty is really short.
That's what I was thinking. It's
did you?
I didn't look up, but
because I don't know if the Elites have different warranties. They are
my
much heavier duty controller.
Elite 2 controller warranty.
Yeah, I mean, I you know what's funny? Out of all the times, I mean, I guess
1 year. Yeah.
My Xbox, my my DualSense controller on my PS5, my launch one, has stick drift. So, and that's an issue you just can't fix. Yeah, that's fucked up controller thing. Mm-hmm. And I got a new controller right around when that happened, but I still use both, and I can get it to work. It's not fine, terrible, but it has it is a fact.
Right.
And I've never really had to take apart a controller quite like this to get it to fix, to try to fix it. But I'm just glad at the fact that I did, because imagine I would have not had to place one, but two controllers. I would have been oh man, I still have I don't have all my original 360 controllers, but I have all my Xbox One controllers, and I actually had to use one for a little bit, and with my new Xbox, and I was dude, this feels alien,
ancient. Yeah,
this feels the controllers do not age well.
It's so funny though, man. I will say I think the base PlayStation controller feels more heavy duty now than the Xbox One.
You kind of made the comment that it feels like a toy, and I do kind of agree. There's something more firm,
it's light, it's
about the DualSense than there is the Xbox.
There's a twang
controller
to it. I don't know how else. It's it does just feel the DualShock 4. Then the Elite feels like that.
But then again, the Xbox controllers don't get drift. Why do the DualSense gets drift?
Dude, I didn't realize that was an issue. That's the thing. I haven't had no issues with my DualSense controllers so far for the 2 years I've had them. I definitely don't play them as much though as my.
I don't think I had an issue
ones.
with my DualShock 4s.
Yeah.
I think I had.
Do you think we get the DualShock 6 on the next one?
Why would they go back?
No. Well, is that? I mean, because wasn't the other one the DualShock 3 keep going up because it's PS6, the DualShock 6?
Well, the controller's the DualSense.
Oh right, I forgot. I forgot they completely named it. I forgot this wasn't. I forgot that was.
Yeah. So it would, I guess, be DualSense too.
Yeah. That boomerang fuck. Yeah. So I'm annoyed about that for sure.
Do you plan on replacing your Elite with another?
Probably not.
Really? You're not even going to do anything with it?
I mean, I don't know what I can do with it right now. I mean, I'm going to keep it to use
it was
when
a gift,
needed.
Right?
Yeah, my girlfriend got it for me. It was a really nice one. I use it I love that. The battery on that thing.
That's what I'm saying.
For a week. So it's I just don't know, but what else I can do to fix that.
Besides getting a new one.
Yeah.
Right. But would you replace it with a new one is what I'm asking?
Probably not. If it's going to break in a year and a half again. I don't know. It just feels because my other regular controllers have lasted that long, so why not just get the regular one? I don't know.
Sure.
It definitely annoyed me. The battery life on that controller is wild. Like, it'll say that I'm low battery for 5 days, and I'll play it all day. And it's like, you're good still.
I hate when it's on low battery and it loses the vibration.
Yeah, not fun. All right, Gooch. Anything else?
Let's talk about Xbox.
Let's talk about Xbox. So, we are going to get into it here with a little spiel, a little catch-up, if you will, that I wrote for us to kind of get us in the mood here.
Please, Trio. Lead us in.
We shall lead you in. All right, so let's give a little breakdown as to why we are here today. As of May 7th, Xbox has announced the closure of 4 Bethesda studios, shutting the likes of Tango Gameworks, Arkane Austin, Roundhouse Studios, and Alpha Dog Games. The news was delivered to an unsuspecting staff via email from Xbox Game Studio head Matt Big Ol' Booty. Just Matt Booty. Explaining that, quote, these changes are grounded in prioritizing high-impact titles and further investing in Bethesda's portfolio of blockbuster games and beloved worlds, which you have nurtured over the many decades. To double down on these franchises and to invest and build new ones, it requires us to look across the business to identify the opportunities that are best positioned for success. While that is all well and good, it has become tough to take Microsoft at their word, as it has proven to be a fairly meaningless one. I just lost my place. Meaningless so far. Whether intentional or just poor planning, we can now point to numerous occasions where leadership has gone back on their words. We have studios bungle 3 games in a row in that of 343 while continuing steadily on as Xbox chooses to shut down Tango after releasing a critical darling such as Hi-Fi Rush. This came after a comment from Aaron Greenberg, VP of Xbox Games Marketing from Microsoft, in April of 2023 as he addressed concern that Hi-Fi Rush had not meet sales expectations, calling the game, quote, a breakout hit for us and all of our players in all key metrics and expectations. As Xbox continues to double down on Game Pass and a digital-centric future and console sales continue to stagnate, we must ask ourselves, after all these purchases and promises, what have we to show for it 6 years later? Is it the fault of leadership, or is the name of the industry currently? That is what we are here to dissect. So, Gooch, as you can tell by my blurb, I'm fairly negative right now.
Yeah, I mean, let's be fair. Everyone is.
Yes, true.
I think there are some hopeful people. I think I'm probably one of them. But morale's low. For Xbox.
Do you think it's fair to say that it hasn't been this low since the Xbox
DRM?
One?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is maybe a new low.
Even lower. Okay. I would say it's so hard to remember back, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I would say at least equal at this point.
Okay. Yeah. I would say maybe a smidge lower.
I think. Yeah. I would think I put the Xbox One reveal higher on the worst scale.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. Higher on the worst scale because how drastically. Like, I remember myself watching those things and being like, I guess I'm getting a PlayStation. Like, I remember doing that as an Xbox guy. Just, I don't feel like I remember such a seismic shift like that ever happening since in our lifetime. I'm sure it happened in the game industry before.
Here's why I think it's lower, because this is a games issue. It's not just a console issue.
Exactly, yeah.
First and foremost.
Yeah. 100%. And I think that really their major issue that I really wanted to highlight in this is their communications and how it does feel like we can point to a lot of these kind of hypocritical statements, if you will, about, studio closures, especially that one. I think I put that in there just because I feel like it's kind of really makes the point. But I just am having a lot of trouble, Gooch, at this point, believing anything that comes out of their mouth. And I hate saying that. I don't think I'm an overreactor. Maybe I am sometimes. I like to keep these moments in for when they're truly needed. But I feel like we have gotten to this point where I just don't know what, aside from the ecosystem, which, hey, I'll give you their operating system, how their games funnel into the apps and how their smart delivery works and all that stuff is truly fantastic. I love it. But when I go to tell people to buy something now, if someone asks me to buy a console, especially with how we've been trending with, as far as we can tell, all these Xbox exclusives are going to come to PlayStation. I think within not all of them. It's going to be a slow trickle, but I think we're going to see the likes of Halo and stuff sooner rather than later. And once you can obtain all those games on one console and the other console limits you, and not by the choice of Xbox, it's PlayStation, and that's fucked, and I can totally respect that. It's tough for me to then say, get the Xbox. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it makes me go, no, get the PlayStation, because now, especially with crossplay and everything, you're not really missing anything at all. You are missing that ecosystem, which I truly do love. Like I said, and I think it has a lot going for it. But I just feel like they are all but giving up on the console race with this type of messaging, in my opinion. And I think that I don't see how Xbox sales grow now.
Console sales.
Yes, thank you. Console sales. And maybe they're not trying to do that anymore. Maybe the leadership has kind of changed. I think a lot of the changes that we're seeing over the last couple of days are coming above Phil Spencer and like that.
Yeah,
and
that was something I identified like immediately. I was like, I don't think Phil Spencer is the one,
and I'm sure
making this call. Yeah, I think it's a board thing.
Absolutely, it is. But his choices led to this board decision. All of their Xbox leadership
combined. Right,
yes, led to that decision being made, and I get it from the bean counter expectation. I keep hearing this a lot, and I'm no expert on the game industry. I consume about as much podcasting as much as the next guy, and news as much as the next guy.
I would disagree. You probably consume more than the next guy.
That's true.
I would give yourself some credit.
Thank you. You're too kind.
I mean, but between the both of us, we're the info we talk about and the conversations we're involved in, whether it be content, are probably more than the average Joe.
That's fair.
To paint the picture.
Thank you, Gucci. I appreciate
that's
the
pretty
credit.
apt.
Yeah. But I don't know how it works. I kind of lost my train of thought now, so that's my fault.
It's okay.
But I just think that there are just a lot of issues when it comes to Xbox staying around as a console brand at this point, and that makes me sad because this
definitely a bit upsetting for me.
You need competition in this industry, but at the same time, I don't know, and I hate saying this, I don't know how much competition they've been these last 5 years in a lot of respects, in the way of like, I mean, they had a good sale moment there with console sales and everything, but Gucci, I'm kind of going on a tangent at this point. How are you feeling? What's your overall mood at the moment?
So here's my perspective. This is a fucking shame that, we're closing these studios who, I understand Arkane Austin seemingly got forced to make Redfall. It is kind of a shame.
That's more of a Bethesda choice at the beginning there too, of course. Like, we can definitely get into that more.
Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm. True. It is. You're right. Let's point it out. That actually isn't a fully Xbox decision. That was more of a Bethesda decision that then Xbox inherited, which now made their problem.
Right. It's just real quick. It's wild to me though that they didn't see that being a problem. I guess that's like, they didn't like check in on it and be like, this isn't looking very good.
Right. Maybe they had more faith. Maybe we all had more faith in Bethesda than we should have.
Sure, and even Arkane at that degree. Yeah.
I mean, you love Arkane.
Absolutely.
Prey, Dishonored.
Yes. I don't think Arkane Austin did Prey and stuff though. I think they did.
Yeah. What did Arkane Austin actually do? Deathloop, right?
I think they did.
Yeah. Deathloop, Prey.
Yes, that was it. It was Prey was their big one. Yeah.
Because I know Dishonored was Arkane Lyon.
Right, they were the original, and Austin was the newer.
Yeah, I mean, like, correct me if I'm wrong. I think Arkane Austin did Prey and Deathloop and Redfall, right?
Yes, I think that's correct. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So seeing, and then Tango Gameworks, Alpha Dog and Roundhouse. I'm not gonna pretend like I know a lot about them.
I agree.
I think if the studio closures just lay within Alpha Dog and Roundhouse, we would not be having the same conversation.
I completely agree.
It's the fact that it's Tango Gameworks, a studio that apparently is doing what Xbox wants, making smaller games that are winning Game of the Year awards. They closed.
Darling.
Hi-Fi Rush was a critical darling last year. Evil Within 1 and 2 are pretty well-liked games. I know Shinji Mikami left, but I don't necessarily think this has anything to do with it. I think Shinji Mikami is just kind of doing his own creative pursuits.
Dude, they were presenting next games.
Right. Yeah. Didn't they have?
They were talking about doing a Dishonored, follow-up, or even like a new thing in the Deathloop. Like, they were talking about getting back to their immersive sim roots. Which, dude, makes me so excited. And listen, I think that there's an argument to be made that there's been a lot of turnover.
Let me get back on track.
Apologies.
I got very off track real quick.
No worries.
Here's my perspective. It sucks. These studios closed. It's not good. Tango Gameworks, Arkane Austin, losing those companies for Xbox is a shame. It sucks that layoffs, not just within the games industry, but the world at large, are continuing to happen on a mass scale. But here's my perspective.
Hit me with it.
I don't care about Xbox exclusives. I don't give a flying fuck.
That's fair.
About Xbox exclusives, and I haven't for a long time. It's clear that if you listen to this podcast, if you hear my opinions, I am more an Xbox guy than I am PlayStation.
No.
Yes. And I think that reason is, like you brought up, and I posted about this in our Discord, and I was talking about it in the Last Stand Media Discord and getting into a few fights about it. Xbox is about the ecosystem. They have better systems. They have better multiplayer than other consoles. They have just everything in their systems, their store, their achievements, in my opinion, just their systems and the way everything between PC and Xbox and cloud, like everything they have that isn't their games is better than all their competition. Flat out, end of story. I think that's why they got ahead in the 360 generation. That's why they were better. I think they were still good in the Xbox One generation, but they flubbed it right at the beginning, and that killed them for the rest of the system. But Xbox has better systems, and they themselves have identified their key victory point, their ecosystem. That's why they're getting away from console sales, and I think that's why their Xbox exclusives are kind of falling flat, because I don't think they're putting as much resources or giving the studios enough time for them to be...
I don't think they know how to manage them.
To be these contenders against a Last of Us Part 2 or a God of War Ragnarok. I just don't think Xbox is letting those studios actually make those critical darlings of games. I just think they're not they're giving them the full breath to do it.
I just don't think they are managing well. I think that they might. I think it's kind of gradations. I think in some cases they're giving more leeway than they should, and in others they're giving less than they should.
It's clear. For some reason, I don't think Phil Spencer is the villain yet. All right. I have a problem with Matt Booty specifically. He seems to be a big problem. I don't.
But why?
Because he just seems to be full of shit. Like, about everything.
So does Phil.
But Phil seems to be...
Gooch.
There's something about Phil that I'm not quite... Again, I don't think he's quite the villain yet. I don't think he himself, Phil, for his job, right, what he's doing is doing a bad job. I think the people around him are doing bad jobs. Sarah Bond, in an interview with Bloomberg...
That should have been Phil. He threw her to the wolves. That poor woman.
She's head of Xbox Studios. No, stop. Let's back the fuck up.
They shouldn't have sent anyone.
She's head of Xbox Studios.
Right.
She can talk for herself. He oversees her.
Right.
Phil has done a lot more damage control that Sarah Bond has ever done. Let's give Phil some credit. He went on Kind of Funny Xcast and played fucking D for Redfall.
And
he didn't need to do that.
I'm sorry, Gooch.
Whether he spouted bullshit or not, why did he decide to go on a podcast and do damage control?
And they released a terrible product.
He didn't ask Sarah Bond to do that.
I know. I'm surprised. He did the correct thing there. He should have been the one on stage there. If that's above him and above her, and he is the top, he should be on stage doing that. Listen, Phil is I respect and hear what you're saying. They're all the villains to me. I don't care. They're all CEOs. They all have made these decisions that led to the point where we're at. Phil has lied on multiple occasions, and we can point to many of them. I think they are all the villains. I think they have made some bad decisions that have led us to this point. Game Pass does not seem very sustainable to me. We're going to get Call of Duty on
I think that's more of a fact at this point.
And
that Game Pass is not turning out what to be this stable thing that we thought it was going to be.
I guess just my whole point is I blame them all fully. I blame them all fully, and I don't have any sympathy for Phil at this point. I don't. I'm sorry. It's tough to. And I just feel like I can point to. I can point to so many times where we thought we're going in this direction, where it just hasn't, and we've completely gone back on it. And this double speak,
Matt Booty just seems to not know what he's talking about. I think Phil double speaks, but I think Phil knows what he's talking about, and I think he knows he's being hypocritical.
That doesn't make it any better, though.
I'm not saying.
It kind of feels. I'm sorry, you're not saying that, but that feels like an excuse to say
I just feel like Matt Booty is an executive who, like many executives, don't know how to do his job. I'm not sure how I feel about Sarah Bond. Listening to Sarah Bond kind of talk in circles and kind of talk around the layoffs and the closures of these studios was a bit weird.
They shouldn't have done that interview.
It seemed like she didn't know what to say or
she
how
did not
to say
want to
it.
be there.
She definitely didn't want to be there. I'm not sure how that conversation ended up happening.
Well, because they felt like they were on the back foot. And I'm sorry, Xbox has been on the...
Stop. How do you know that Xbox wanted to do that conversation, or was that something planned ahead of time that they already were going to do?
I actually don't know.
I'm just keeping you accountable
that's
here.
Totally
I don't think that was a...
Either way, if it was their choice, I would not have.
Like, let's put Sarah Bond out on Bloomberg to talk about it. I think
that's a fair point.
I think maybe that was just happened to be circumstantial, and then all that shit happened, and then Sarah Bond just happened to be doing an interview.
If it isn't, I should have prefaced that. If it isn't circumstantial, and they set that up to talk about that specifically. That seemed very.
It's clear she wasn't ready, so that's what I'm saying.
Sure, but
they're press
also,
trained,
I don't even think it's
but she clearly was not answering any questions that she was being asked.
But I don't think that's not being ready. I think that's just classic corpo speak. You need to talk around things, and you want like when it's a tough
that, but also not being ready to talk about it.
Well, and I think you could tell
and not
she
being
probably
able
didn't
to talk
like.
About it.
And listen, she sent out a thing to them a month ago saying like, "Can't wait to make many more games with you" or something. I fully doubt that she knew what was gonna. That's what
I'm saying.
But that doesn't.
It wasn't a decision that the Xbox heads we know, Matt Booty, Sarah Bond,
to
Phil
me,
Spencer.
That doesn't.
Who's the other guy?
Aaron Greenberg.
Aaron Greenberg. I don't think it's a decision that they sat down and they knew they were making themselves. I think this came from above Phil's head. So Satya Nadella, the executive board of Microsoft, were like, "Hey, this is what has to happen."
But
and
can
he's
I
like,
tell?
Fuck,
but can I say why that?
And he has to do it.
But their choices led to this moment. That's at the end of the day, the buck stops with them. I can't begrudge the bean counters for seeing all this money go out the door when Xbox was a blip on Microsoft's radar, profits wise. They didn't care about them that much. They let them do what they wanted. But once they started shelling out all this money for Bethesda, which I think actually was still a good purchase, but then they wanted to move to Activision, which, hey, you can probably look back and I'm like, oh, this sounds good and this sounds fine, but as I've come to learn more about like why this might not be the best, I think it just put them on the radar to so high of a degree that now the bean counters are like, I mean, we heard this article that came out today, no red lines, everything. They want everything to be selling on all these consoles, because guess what? Why wouldn't you? You make all this money. Yeah. You are getting. You're not making. I completely understand that, and I think after a while, at some point, we are going to get to an exclusive-less game type of situation. But I think we are at the point now where we were with Microsoft, with the Xbox One, with the always online thing. They're too early. They're getting in, and they're just giving up on the console space, which I guess I can't necessarily say that might not be a bad business thing at this point. I mean, dude, Sea of Thieves was like number 2 on PSN this last week.
Yeah.
If I'm seeing that, and they were saying this on Last Stand, like, what if that's the Master Chief Collection, Gooch? Do you know how much that fucking thing is selling on there? And then they're just like, all right, everything, go. Floodgates. So let me do this, Gooch. There's a pie. And I understand that your pie, a lot of it's that ecosystem, right? You really enjoy that. That's why you're there for. I think the pie for most people is 75% games.
Of course.
And I think that's why I think you get to this point of like, they have given up on console sales.
I think when you really sit down and think about it, and you think about the Xbox player base, I don't think they were there for the games. They're not anymore. They're there for the ecosystem. They're there because their friends are there. They're there because of that stuff. The stuff and the third-party games are on there, of course. But we're not necessarily talking about that. I play a ton of third-party games on Xbox. Why would I play them on PlayStation? There's no reason why. But
But you're
there's no plus,
right?
to doing it one way or the other.
But you are a person who has both.
Correct.
Most people, the vast majority, are buying one. And to get them into that ecosystem to make that money off them is that first step. And like, they already have you. They already have those people that stuck around. They have me. But they need the newbies. And it's, again, I keep bringing it up, but when my roommate asks me what console to get, I will explain to him, yes, I love the ecosystem. I love these aspects about Xbox better. But I would recommend getting PlayStation because you have access to everything on there. And
what's everything? What does that mean? What is access to everything?
You have all of the PlayStation exclusives and you have all the third parties. You have everything. On Xbox, you do not have access to those PlayStation games. You have third parties.
So
that's great.
My retort would be, well, you have Game Pass and you can play a lot of games for nothing.
You don't have God of War. You don't have Spider-Man. You don't have Last of Us. You don't have these major, incredibly hit-selling games that draw people. And guess what? Now I'm going to be able to get a PlayStation and play those and play all the other ones. And sure, I can get it and get Game Pass and maybe save some money, but I don't think that's good for games, actually, at this point. I don't think it is. I don't know how you can sustain that.
I think, obviously, we all know Game Pass is a good deal.
It's an amazing deal, even.
Yeah. I'm now curious, how does Xbox turn Game Pass into a net positive for them? Because I guess it's clearly not.
Well, because the problem is, too, like... say,
but it's such a good deal. Like, they're not going to just cancel the whole thing.
I think they're major...
Like... There's no way they can just be like, Game Pass is over.
Do you want to know what I think the
especially
major
with with the acquisition of Activision Blizzard, you want to get Call of Duty on Game Pass. And as far as we know, this year, the new COD is going to be on Game Pass. We know that Game Pass is going to go up in price. I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. Like we said, Xbox Game Pass is too good of a deal. So they're going to rake a bit more. And we know they're in dire straits. So the price hike makes a little bit more sense.
To me, the only way that makes sense is if they get it on PlayStation as well, which they never will. PlayStation won't allow it.
Wait, what do you mean?
Game Pass as a service.
Oh.
Because the problem here is, you're saving a lot of money for that year on end if you're playing Call of Duty through that, no doubt. But
and other games.
And other games, yes.
Right.
But the initial purchase for a bunch of people of $500, especially if they already have a PlayStation, which so many gamers do at this point, whoever's going to buy one, I have to then now invest $500 to get that system to play it on, or I can get my PC and I can have my PlayStation. Like, that's kind of the thing that I'm moving toward. If I could access my...
But PlayStation doesn't have the catalog that Xbox does on your PC. They are just starting that. And
I'm not saying...
And they're going really slow uphill on their PC ecosystem.
That's why I'd have the PlayStation still. That's what I'm saying. So, like, my computer can now become my Xbox at this point, for the most part. In basically all respects.
Yes, because their ecosystem... really includes it.
Yes.
But like even despite that, can you stop moving that cable? It's fucking bothering me. Unplug it or get rid of it.
I keep going. All right. Either way. Now I can move it again. I totally lost my train of thought now. What were we saying?
We were talking about games being on Game Pass and the Xbox ecosystem already being there.
Like that Xbox
PC.
Ecosystem, the only way I feel like they start making money now is if someone gets... Like, that's what they're trying to make money through, and they're moving towards this. Yeah, Game Pass and all, and that has been, we've known that for a while now, and they're hurtling towards this all digital future, which I do not like. And we talked about this.
All these companies are again.
That's such a gooch. I love you.
No,
that's such
no,
a
no,
wave
no,
away.
no, no.
Other.
Fuck off.
Please
with that.
let me finish. Can
Dude,
I please finish my?
The
sentence?
entire industry is moving towards a digital future. That is a fact. It's not an Xbox thing. Steam has always been digital. You got to think about it.
PC is completely different thing. Second off. None of the other two major console manufacturers have made the decision to not fully put all of their first-party games on a disc. Only Xbox has done that. So
Alan Wake.
I'm not talking about...
It's an example.
No,
it
isn't. Gooch.
Alan Wake is not an Xbox studio, and their game is digital only.
I'm not saying there aren't other studios that are doing that.
But there are, is what I'm telling you. Xbox, not all Xbox exclusives, dude. Don't fucking laugh. Not all Xbox exclusives are physical only. I have a copy of Halo Infinite on that shelf.
Xbox exclusives. Alan Wake that's not a total Xbox exclusive. That is on PlayStation, isn't it?
I'm saying it's not. That's my point.
That's what I'm talking about.
It's outside of Xbox.
Starfield, you can't get on a disc, Gooch. But you
can get a physical version. The whole game
isn't on there. The whole game is not on the disc.
Plenty of other games are doing that. We know that.
No other console manufacturer has made that an overall choice for their first-party exclusives.
Why are console manufacturers telling them what they can and can't put on discs?
I'm sorry, first-party PlayStation could tell that to all first-party PlayStation studios. They aren't doing that. That's what Xbox is doing. Alan Wake isn't a first-party studio.
That's what I'm saying. They, as an outside,
you're talking past me here.
They as an outside entity,
Remedy
made the decision to do digital.
I know that.
Against,
I'm not saying
they're not under
Xbox
or Sony's.
The reason I'm laughing, and I'm not trying to, it's because you're not understanding what I'm saying here.
Yeah,
you're talking past me in the way of.
I'm not talking past you. I'm just giving you a literal example as to what you're.
But PlayStation, I'm not
real.
talking about other publishers doing it. I'm talking about other console first-party manufacturers. Nintendo and PlayStation has not gone to all of their first-party studios and told them not to put the entire game on the disc.
Is Xbox literally doing that?
All first-party games. Matty talks about it all the time on his platform. They are the only console manufacturer and first-party publisher that are doing that with their first-party games. I apologize for laughing. I wasn't trying to do that. It's just that's my point. It's not that other companies like Remedy aren't choosing to do it, and that the whole industry isn't moving towards that in a lot of ways. I hate that. That's one of my even. Odyssey, or not Odyssey, Shadows is doing that. You have to download the game and download an update to play the game. That is fucking ridiculous.
I mean, we've been talking about that for
that is
2 or 3
Ubisoft
years.
making that decision,
right?
And that doesn't then affect all of
But that's an example
of
it being outside the console manufacturers.
Right, but I never said it's not only the console manufacturers. I'm saying Xbox is the only console manufacturer to make that choice.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Don't act like this is an Xbox exclusive issue when other big AAA devs are also doing it.
But I'm not saying it's an exclusive thing to devs. I'm saying it's an exclusive thing to the 3 major console manufacturers to make that unilateral decision. Xbox is the only one doing that. I do not like that I will not be able to get a copy of Senua's Sacrifice on anything. I have to download it through Xbox.
Right.
If I buy Starfield, it is not on the disc, playable from that disc. I am now going to buy it on PlayStation when it comes out because I want the entirety of the thing on the disc. It annoys me that anyone's doing this. And I'm not just picking on Xbox for this in that respect. I'm just picking on them in that respect of that they are the only console manufacturer and first-party developer to make that decision unilaterally.
I just don't see a future where this stops with them. Is really what my point.
That's fair. I just still don't like it.
It's just a matter of fucking time. I'm not saying I like it, but I just don't. I don't see it as an Xbox issue. Just because they're one that pulled the trigger once doesn't mean everyone else is not going to also pull the trigger.
Right.
Because they, as in a C-suite executives, go, yeah, that's a good idea.
Right.
That saves us X amount of capital or whatever.
Right. But I'm not saying that. I'm saying what's happening right now, and that could very well happen. And you know what?
It is.
Most likely will happen. Completely. But I'm saying it will continue to happen, and I for God's sakes hope we never get to the point where I can't buy a physical game. It probably will. But I don't like how they're fully leaning into it. That is a reason that I really don't appreciate.
And we have.
And I do think it is very different from Alan Wake's developers saying that versus the publisher saying that and making that unilateral decision. I think that's where the difference lies. It's not that no other company is doing it. You know what I mean? Like that's my point. And I don't think it's unfair to call Xbox out on that. And I would call PlayStation out on that as soon as they do it too. Because it's fucking ridiculous. I want to actually own the thing I'm buying. And there has been this fucking campaign, and we've talked about it on our physical versus digital media thing of most plebs don't know that you download the entire game from your disc. Or you can at least. Because when you are connected to the internet, most of the time what it will do, it'll take a certain amount off your disc and then download the rest from the internet.
Right.
But if you aren't connected to the internet, it fully copies it from the disc. And most people, when you see comments under things, just don't get that. And it really frustrates the hell out of me. But that's really where my frustration lies in the all digital future stuff with them.
Going back to the ecosystem thing, I think I'm frustrated that other people don't identify that. It's like it seems to live and die by the games. And I think that is a very traditional way of looking at a console. I understand it is mostly about the games, but what if it's not? And what if Xbox obviously has identified that it's not all about the games, and there's an investment in the ecosystem is a more fruitful future endeavor? Whether that is true or not, we have yet to see. But I do get very annoyed when I know it's been very doom and gloom for Xbox, and I'm not saying I don't think it is, but what I'm saying is I don't think people have identified the good about Xbox. We're all willing to talk about how they have no games, but nobody is willing to talk about how their store is better than PlayStation and always has been. And same with Switch. I mean, everything's better than fucking Nintendo stuff.
Right.
But Xbox is just doing all their systems, all their mechanics, all their ecosystem stuff better. PlayStation parties stink. And they do, and they was better on PS4. How the hell is that possible in 2024 where everyone and most people are playing multiplayer games with their friends? Why is Xbox the only platform who seems to do it really well and really right, and has been for years? We don't talk about that stuff, and I think that stuff is really important. I mean, obviously, if all your friends are on Xbox, you're probably going there. I don't know what will cause like a group of friends to like totally switch consoles. Maybe it is exclusives. Usually it happens at the generational switches for X, Y, and Z. But, you know, I just think to totally dismiss Xbox on all counts because they just don't have the exclusives, I think is crazy. I just don't think we're looking at the full board here. And instead, we're just looking at a part of it that they're clearly losing, and they're clearly losing bad. And we all fucking know it. But, like, why doesn't the identification of the ecosystem being the key target, why are we not looking at that and being like, yeah, that is smart?
Can I give you an analogy?
Sure.
I have an amazing steak dinner.
Okay.
Like a fantastic one. I'm going to a restaurant, or at least I think it's going to be. And it comes out. And the steak itself, the main course that you're there for, it sucks. They undercooked it. It's not done well. The outside's not really seared. Not enjoying the main course. Ooh, the accoutrements. Oh, the potatoes are pretty good. So are the green beans. All that stuff. That's great. But that's not the main thing I'm there for. And I can completely agree with you on all that.
Let's take a chain like McDonald's.
Right.
Because like you go to McDonald's, and the idea with McDonald's from the beginning is like you go to any McDonald's food, and you're getting like that good food at like every single one.
Right.
Xbox, from their console to the PC, there's usually no issues. Right. The games are built from the ground up to play on both well. PlayStation, on the other hand, has just been entering the PC marketplace, putting their exclusives on there. Almost all of their exclusives that have gotten on PC have had disastrous launches. They don't play well. Last of Us Part 1 had this issue. Right. Final Fantasy Remake had this issue. It just seems like they're putting these games on there, but like the real place to play them is at the original location.
Yeah. And that's on purpose, because they want you to buy that box, because that's how they make their money. You know what I mean? That's a major way.
You're telling me they're porting games and they're purposely having them play like shit?
Oh, no. But I'm saying that they will always, that is the place to play it. It will be there first. It will play the best, most likely, because it's been optimized for that. I think they bring them there like years later. So I'm sorry, Gooch. I
don't do apologize.
No. I know. I just think we can want people to think about different things all we want, and to think about things from a different angle all we want. That doesn't change the fact that that's just not how people's minds are thinking about this.
Sometimes I just don't really care about other people. I'm
fair.
only speaking from my own perspective,
right.
Not Joe Schmo's. And obviously I can talk about Joe Schmo's perspective, but like the people listening to the podcast are not Joe Schmo's. So like, I've been thinking about that perspective, and it's like, oh, like we're really not talking about the hardcore audience. We're talking about like everybody else. It's like, okay, I understand why that makes sense, but like, let's take a step back and like talk about our own perspectives and the hardcore audience, not just the plebs.
But that, I hate to say it doesn't matter, Gooch, but it doesn't matter. They need to make like I said, we're already here. They got us. They got the audience that's going to be there regardless. They need the people they lost during the PlayStation 4 generation to come back. And listen, I don't begrudge Phil Spencer for having to take over after that announcement. They dug themselves an 8-foot hole and jumped right in. It was what I've never
agreed.
I have never seen a more disastrous like announcement and crash of. I remember coming into like school and people were talking about it after that.
But no, stop. Wasn't Phil Spencer? Get it right. Don Matrix.
Gooch,
it was before Phil.
I know, Gooch. That's what I just said.
And that's another position. If not Phil, who?
Gooch, I love
Be careful what you wish for.
You didn't hear what I just said again.
Be careful what you wish for. If you want Phil Spencer out, we may not get something. We may get worse, dude.
Gooch, you didn't hear what I just said.
What did you say?
I was saying I said I don't begrudge Phil Spencer for having to take over after this announcement. And after that shit show, after an absolute insane announcement. He had to take it over and he did some good stuff and I will never disregard that. But that doesn't negate the bad that we've gotten to right now and how we've just kind of been flip-flopping every which way. We have 4 games coming to console right now on that announcement that they're like, but it's just these 4. But then they get on and then he gets on in an interview where it's like he's completely talking in the opposite direction, being like, well, if it's good and stuff, we'll there's more. Like, I remember it just being completely flip-flopping bullshit. I can't take him seriously. I'm sorry. I don't believe them when they say anything. At this point, I don't know why they haven't been swapped out. Genuinely,
because again, careful what you wish for. I don't think.
No, but again, it's just I'm not saying that I wish for that. I'm saying based on their track record, a normal person failing that much at their job and causing this much issue, you'd be fired and be replaced. Well, I'm not saying that I want that or that it's necessarily going to be better, but like I just think that's the fair thing, and especially when you're closing down these studios that are getting fucked, that are putting out good stuff. And I'm not going to... Listen, you can probably convince me on Arkane Austin to a degree. That's a lot of that team left. They fucked up with Redfall. Maybe not necessarily their problem. Maybe you can convince me of that. I'll let that go. But like you let go of Tango, and then you let 343? 3, who have destroyed their fucking reputation with the last 2 games in the way of just like... Not destroyed, but like they have been some sharts. For sure.
Yeah, they're definitely not the what they needed to be.
And like they just get to keep trucking along.
If you like them or not.
Listen, I'm sorry. And I know I keep saying I'm sorry. This is me. That's me saying I'm sorry to the universe. I know I'm not apologizing to you for anything. It's just I am at a low with this at this point, and I know I want to talk about all of that, but
another thing. I mean, this is pointed at you because you've said things like that. If you want to get out of the Xbox system, get your console, chuck it in the street, delete all your stuff. I don't like that. Like, I don't like the half-ass speak from Xbox gamers of like, oh, like I'm done. Then fucking go, dude. Like put your money where your mouth is.
I'm not gonna buy any more.
Like,
yeah, I know. Yeah,
I'm not like really saying this to you,
yeah, right.
Even though you've said this. But I just don't like
But that's
I'm done. It's like, you know what, man? Like, you're probably not. You're not really telling the truth. So, like, either put your money where your mouth is, delete your account, delete all your stuff, get rid of all your shit, leave your digital and physical games in the trash, throw it all away if it doesn't matter you to that much. Because I just feel like that's how people are talking. I just don't like the conversation that people are so ready to get up and leave Xbox like it's nothing. Dude, we both have huge libraries, digital or physical, on those systems. Years and years and years and years of gaming history, whether it's achievements or the libraries, whatever. You know, like,
I don't have a reason to buy any. Like, I think to throw out all your, that would be monetarily and even stupid. Like, that would be the dumbest.
But like, that's how people are talking.
Well, I think they're talking in the way of like, why am I investing any further? Especially as someone who has a PlayStation 5 and an Xbox. And especially, I'm sorry, with the digital stuff. I'm going to buy most things on my PlayStation now. Unless I can't get it still. Which I think, like, Doom, that's going to come to PlayStation. I'm sorry. Frickin' Blade, that's going to come to PlayStation.
Doom? What Doom?
Doom. The new one, the one we're assuming is going to be announced coming this week.
Yeah.
Starfield, I'm sure that's going to come over soon. Like, and you know what? I'll be, I guess, happy.
Why would you play it on PlayStation 4? It's almost like you're throwing.
I want to own it. I want to.
So
own
you'd rather play Starfield, possibly like shit, like every other Bethesda game has been on PlayStation since, like Skyrim. You're okay with that?
If I get the full and entire complete package on a PlayStation disc, yes.
I almost don't believe you.
That's fine. You cannot believe me, but
I almost don't believe it.
Okay, that's fine.
Like that's crazy.
Why is that crazy?
Because you've been proven that, but specifically, but like let's talk Bethesda games since we're talking about it. That like they perform like shit on PlayStation.
That's not my point.
But that's a reason you wouldn't buy on PlayStation.
Right, but my reason that I want to buy it on PlayStation outweighs that reason that it might be a little crappy. But also, guess what? If they release that if they release Starfield on that has all the patches, that has all the updates.
Does it?
That has, I mean, all the ones up until release when it release. Yes, why would it?
Does that mean it's gonna play well? It clearly is not.
Gooch.
I think you're not. I think you're ignoring some stuff.
I know, Gooch, but I'm telling you that's irrelevant to me. I'm telling you
and I'm telling you, I don't believe that that's irrelevant when it actually comes down to it.
That's totally fine and fair.
And you
but
hear,
like, that's the major reason that I'm buying it.
Like apparently everyone else and their mom waits for reviews, and that's how you determine if you're getting a game. Not if you're interested, not if you actually care about it at all, just about the review score, which is another thing that's bothering me, because if we go back to it, if you are interested in a game, you should invest some money and fucking buy it. It's not about being a charity to Xbox and all their first-party titles. But, like, man, if you're, like, remotely interested in Hellblade, why wait for reviews? Just buy it and form your own fucking opinion.
Well, no, now you can just get Game Pass and pay $10, $20 for the month and then just cancel it.
Or...
But also,
I don't play on Game Pass, and I recognize that my money means something, and I'm totally fine. I mean, Hellblade's a bad example because there's no physical copy, but I don't own Game Pass. I've never been a Game Pass subscriber, and I don't like it because I can't own my games. That's why I don't have Game Pass. I don't care if it's a good deal.
But I can't own it on Xbox now either.
I mean, right, but at least it's digital, but at least I'm giving the full $50 to the studio, and apparently I'm keeping them above fucking water.
But apparently they don't want you to do that, Xbox. They want you to invest in Game Pass because that's how they're going to make money now. So that's the thing.
But like, is it? It's really not. We've seen it's not. Well, that's what they want.
That's what I mean. That's the idea. And that's what they want you to do, but it doesn't work.
I just thought about the fucking... what's his name? Ben Shapiro. This is what they want.
This is what they want. Okay. That's like the ultimate goal. That's what I talk about when moving towards this digital only future. And that's why, Gooch, I'm so like, you can, I can appreciate
like they're changing live to core, like Game Pass core, to back your own.
Exactly. Thing. I want the disc with the game on it. To such a degree now that I'm willing to possibly put up with those issues that I'm going to get game-wise. I do think just principally, I'm really trying to commit to that at this point.
I hear you. But I think also to understand why they closed Tango Gameworks, to understand why they closed Arkane and the two other studios, Roundhouse and Alpha Dog, it's because people aren't putting their money where their mouth is. They're not actually buying these games.
Can I have a retort to something like, especially Hi-Fi Rush?
Especially when we're talking about like championing AA.
Right.
You have to go out and fucking, like, I didn't buy Hi-Fi Rush.
Right. But I also think that was a major issue on Xbox's part. They shadow dropped it.
Right.
It's on Game Pass for not free. You have to pay your thing, but it's on there, so you don't have to.
Is this the retort you're talking about?
Yes. So yes, this is the and I feel like they cut the legs out from under that game. It didn't have the chance to sell as good as you want. And I don't begrudge the normal person who's already paying for Game Pass, this service that's supposed to include these. It's the whole point. Then to not want to go buy it again. And I think it creates this weird incentive in your
I think ecosystem. You're talking about the plebs, and I'm talking about the people who have this information, like us, who are like, oh, like maybe I should buy my games. And investing, putting more money into the games means I'm helping the companies and the games I love. I'm championing the AA. I'm championing the smaller titles. So we don't get to a position where Tango Gameworks is getting closed, and then fucking Matt Booty is talking about how they want smaller titles that win awards when they literally just did that. It doesn't make any sense. But then from the player base, fucking gamers are all talk, and they don't really put their money where their mouth is.
Also, there are also more PlayStations out there than Xbox.
Everyone wants to get everything on a deal. Just pay the full price. I'm not saying that it justifies game prices, but like if you're a gamer and you're really invested in this industry, like think about buying a game at launch and pre-ordering, because I think you're benefiting.
Don't pre-order. Don't pre-order.
I disagree.
Like that's definitely not. But yeah, I pre-order like a week before. It's not about
the fucking review score, even if it's bad.
You really don't. But I think that's innately incorrect, because like you need to. I never begrudge anyone. Like
I think a lot of people are willing to hear other people's opinions rather than form their own, and I don't like that.
Well, I think that's fair. I think a lot of people, when it comes to review content, now you find the person you like and you align with. Mostly you find that you align with, and if they're not lining up with you, or if you feel like you're not getting something, or they're not hitting the points that you're wanting out of it, I don't begrudge the person for not wanting to get that game.
And it's not for games. It's like, oh, I like this game, I'm going to get it. Like when I think that applies is when you actually are not informed at all on a game and you know nothing about it, and you're like, oh, people are talking about this game, I should go check if it's any good. That's where I think this comes in. But I think it's when it's Halo. Do you really want to wait for the review for Halo? You wouldn't just kind of like
some people
take a risk and just pay the money to play it?
I think Halo's like a very specific example in the way if that's such a huge franchise. But let's talk about Stellar. What about Stellar Blade?
I did it recently with Stellar Blade and Banishers. I was interested in those games from my own perspective, not because anyone else told me. And I was like, and Stellar Blade, I was just like, I was really on the edge, and then I pre-ordered, and I put all $70 towards that. And Banishers, it was like 60. And I feel good about it because I know my money is going to them. And I know, especially with like Banishers, I know a lot of like, and there's also a conversation of defining AA studios and small and large. Like, do you think like Stellar Blade's like a smaller game?
It feels like AAA level to me.
It's AAA, but like it's from like an unknown studio. Right. It's like okay, like
it's an interesting kind
of
mix.
It's hard to identify.
Really, I think you have to go by budgets at that point. Like however much the game costs really is how I feel like we'd have to judge that. Because like you're not like Pentiment versus Stellar Blade, the budget's probably wildly different. You know what I mean? And I don't mean that as like a PS4 versus or PlayStation versus Xbox more size wise.
And I'm just I don't know. I hope gamers' buying practices are a bit different with Hellblade. It's because, like, do you really want Ninja Theory to go under?
But the problem
and again, it's not a charity thing. If you're interested in Hellblade, just fucking buy it.
But I have Game Pass, Gooch, which Xbox wants me to get. No, and I know you're talking about like the non-plebs. But I'm like the conversation here is.
I don't mean that. I just mean like play the game.
Right. But like I can't begrudge someone
if you have to buy it. If you're on Game Pass, you're on Game Pass, and I guess you're an advantage here. But like it's just waiting for other people's opinions is what bothers me. It's just like you're an independent thinker. Form your own fucking thought.
Listen, I agree with that, man, but that's a little dismissive to me because people are spending a lot of money these days. Money is not, it's not growing on trees, as the old adage goes. I don't begrudge someone for wanting to look up reviews and wanting to kind of suss out how they're going to feel about a game before they just purchase a $70 game. It's a lot of money. Like
I'm not saying to purchase just blindly. I'm just saying like follow your own instinct and like
sure. I think
if you're wrong, you're wrong, and
that's $70.
And I was thinking about this like today. How do refunds work? Like not you getting your money back with the studio getting like do they just take that money out of their earnings?
What
How does
like
that
when
work?
Oh yeah, it's it's bean counter stuff. Yeah, they like when you return a game.
Yeah,
I'm sure they just return. It's like anything.
Like where's the money being taken from when it's already put in the pot?
It's probably from both, because like PlayStation or the store gets a cut of it wherever it's being sold, and then the publisher gets the cut. So I assume both of them, it comes out of them, or like it's set up through Sony that like, or the platform of choice, like they refund you and then then they get refunded by
like
the
who
studio.
lost money when Starfield was getting when Cyberpunk was getting refunded on PlayStation.
I think that was
like this is like a very semantic question.
Yeah, I don't know.
And how to determine like Okay, like even if you put $70 towards it and then you don't like it and refund it, does your money still go to the studio, or do they like just take it right back, or you take it right back?
I think you take it right back. I assume something like that. I really have no idea. I'd be curious as to look into that.
Yeah.
But I just think Xbox is all but accepting that they're done in the console space. In my opinion,
I don't know if I
because
I don't know if I believe it.
My problem.
I don't want to
think
believe
they're
it.
going to have. I think the
don't-
next one's going to be their last one. Because, dude, I don't know how I can recommend to someone to get an Xbox, and because the games, and that's genuinely it. And I know it sucks to not feel like those other things that are really great, like their operating system, like their smart delivery system, like how their games library works. I truly adore that stuff. And that's what makes me so frustrated. That, like, I think if they did get their studio management under control, we might be in a different spot here. But it just feels like we haven't seen, we've seen Fable a little bit. We don't know what's going on with Perfect Dark. I just feel like
we don't know what's going along with every
That's what I'm saying.
Nintendo, Sony, and Xbox right now.
Well, but the
whole games industry is in a weird
Can
space.
I tell you the difference for me with PlayStation versus Xbox is we know what's coming there. We know that we're going to get another, and that's a little boring to a degree, I would argue.
What, with PlayStation?
With PlayStation, the way we know we're going to get another God of War. We know we're going to get another Spider-Man. We know we're going to get another Last of Us in some respect. They have all these franchises to lean back on that we know that even if they aren't talking about,
again,
those are cooking.
Let's remember the Bungie situation.
I'm not saying Playstation is clean in
Factions
this
getting
at all.
canceled. Like, you know, like there are some things to think about.
I completely agree. And we could have a whole other podcast on the reasons that I'm pissed off with PlayStation and I don't like certain practices they make. But this is just such, I think, a truly crossroad moment in the gaming industry.
Agree that Xbox needs to change their communication, but I would say the same thing of Sony, but it's two very different issues.
Well, and I think Sony gets away with it just because they aren't saying anything. And
yeah,
that way
they're saying nothing. So
and
how
I
can you
actually
use
can't
anything
begrudge
against
them that to a degree. Whereas Xbox, they're on the back foot, so they need to be a bit more communicative. So, and I can respect that, but that does come with this point where you can now pull up all these interviews where it's incredibly hypocritical, or at least doublespeak at the very least going on when it comes to promises, and it makes it tough to get excited. It really does for me. I hate to say that.
When you say it's tough to get excited about any game today, it's such a weird...
sure.
It's such a weird space, and
But
the
it feels
games
like
industry is in a huge flux right now across the board.
I completely agree. I just think that there's a clearer picture for me with PlayStation and Nintendo.
Sure.
A much clearer picture. Rather than in the way of like where that console goes, not necessarily the games and like
Did you
what's
listen
coming
to Sacred this week?
Yes, I think so.
Chris Reagan made a comment that I really wanted to like smash his head into a wall about. And
I think I agreed with him.
And I never wanted. I've never had that thought about Chris. I usually like his opinions, but I thought this was a very bad one. The fact that he, was so unsure about like if Xbox is either going to be around another 2 years. I find that lack of faith disturbing, Trio. Like I really do. I'm like I don't believe Xbox is just gonna disappear. Like I really
I don't think it as a brand will disappear.
And yeah, but like even as a console, like I just like Xbox will make another console. Like of course they will.
Definitely.
Like
I think they will.
I just don't believe they're gonna like totally fold their cards and call it quits.
The only reason I could see that them folding their cards as a console manufacturer is that I could really like
I still believe consoles will be made. I know
they might be made, but I think
I understand like the proof is kind of like in your sight, on your plate at the other side of the table. But like I just do not fucking believe it. I don't believe that they would if not Xbox, who?
It wouldn't be. They just fade out, and it would be PlayStation and Nintendo. And guess what? That would be a worse day in the gaming industry.
Yeah,
and I hate that.
It would. Exactly. Thank you.
At a base level, but that
you don't want Xbox to leave.
And I listen to that. I don't think Chris wants that. I don't think that's what he's saying with that.
Right.
Like,
especially him as an Xbox gamer, I just couldn't believe that came out of his mouth. I was like, dude, like
I do think though that's where people's minds have gone to this point. I think that is emblematic of how people are feeling at the moment, sadly enough. And I want to be able to point them to all these other wonderful things in the Xbox ecosystem. But like I said, man, that gate are the games. I really wholeheartedly and fully believe that. I wish it were different. But like with this next generation, if this is coming out, PlayStation 6 is coming out, and you can get Halo on there, and you can get Gears, and you can get all those games. And I can either then choose to get a PlayStation where I can't play God of War. I can't play this.
This is a genuine question.
Yeah.
What's the difference between Xbox putting their games on PlayStation and Game Pass being on PlayStation? What's the difference, do you think?
In
terms of like
why they're not allowing that? Like why PlayStation wouldn't allow?
It seems like when we were talking about Game Pass possibly being on PlayStation, that was like a win for Xbox.
Because Xbox, that's the thing. I think Xbox wants that. They want it on your TV. They want it everywhere.
Yeah, for sure. That's the
PlayStation
ecosystem. Yeah.
And I think someone like Colin would probably be able to like maybe speak to the reason and like the logistical reasons as to why. It's the choice by Sony. They're like, oh yeah, we'll take the cut of you selling a game on here. But I'm curious how much money they would make off of Game Pass and how then irrelevant they feel like that would make them in the way of like money wise, and also like why are we even supporting our major competitor?
The only actual example we have to that is MLB The Show.
Right, and that was a choice by MLB. Yeah, like they were like, no, we want, and we saw stuff with Square Enix. Like, listen, if we could live in a future where everything's on everything, that's what I want, 100%. I think it's ridiculous and annoying that Sony does hold their exclusives, but financially and from a business standpoint, especially it is that thing. It's the thing that gets people.
I was also having a thought. Let's pretend Xbox does disappear.
All right, let's completely, or just goes to publishing. Because that's what I think they're moving to publishing.
Completely.
Okay.
Remember all the FTC, right? Yeah, FTC talks and about how Sony was accusing Xbox of being in a monopoly.
Yeah.
Would now Sony be in a monopoly? There's only one other competitor, but Sony owns much more than Nintendo. Wouldn't that actually now literally be a monopoly? Since there's only one other player, but Nintendo is only, is making their own fucking different pie in the corner over there.
But they aren't actively they aren't actively buying up a ton of companies and consolidating it. Like they have bought companies,
right?
But they're not consolidating in the same way Xbox did, and they aren't
Sony.
actively like enlarging themselves and like trying to stamp out competition in the way of like, I don't even know how to like an example to use, but I think it's different when someone leaves, like if they left that industry and then now you're the only one. It's like, well, we didn't like, our practices didn't make us a monopoly. We were just the best.
But now you fall into it.
I don't think that it's technically a monopoly still, because then you still have Nintendo, which I know, they were
but
trying,
like I'm
Xbox
saying,
was trying
they're
to argue
eating their pie in the corner. They're making their own thing over there.
Right, but they're still technically part of the same industry. I know they're in different. They're in different level. They're different spaces of that industry.
Right.
But they're still two console manufacturers. So PlayStation, you can't make someone else then get into the console manufacturing industry to make it not a monopoly.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I get what you're saying. I think it's an interesting question, but I don't think you'd start approaching on that same like monopolistic ideal. I don't know. But I would love to force PlayStation to put their games everywhere, but it's part of their business methods.
And they're starting to put stuff on PC.
And that's what I mean, where I say I think Xbox might just be too early.
It's a very drip feed thing, but they
wait like 2 years.
And I got to give them credit. The trophies on PC with Ghost of Tsushima, I'm like, okay, nice, that's cool. I'm not sure if I'm gonna utilize that, but I like, again, they're slowly ecosystem coming over, and I think they even realize that Xbox has identified a good business practice, a best practice in, we got to put our ecosystem in places so we're not just getting people, and maybe you get Ghost of Tsushima on PC and then you buy a PlayStation,
and that's what they're
I think it's the same thing with Xbox. It's just you buy, you get something on PC that you need Game Pass for, or Xbox PC launcher thing, and then you go, oh, I'm investing in Xbox. Why don't I get a console, And or I get an Xbox controller for my PC instead of a DualSense, those kind of things.
I think the problem though there with Xbox is it's almost like they're working too well in this aspect, in the way of like the console and the computer are so married to the point of like you don't you'd still need your PlayStation console because listen, I got Ghost of Tsushima. It came out 2 years later. Oh man, I like PlayStation games. I do like this ecosystem. Oh, Spider-Man 3 comes out this year. Oh man, I gotta wait 3 years to get that on my PlayStation. I'll buy that now. I'll buy my PlayStation.
Right?
Now.
Yeah.
Whereas Xbox,
maybe some of my friends are there. Whatever.
Right. Senua's Sacrifice. That's on both at the exact same time. I don't really have an incentive as a computer gamer to then go buy the console. You know what I mean? Because it's all present on the computer. Yeah. I think that's where you start to run into the issue. We're reaching an Ouroboros with Xbox. They're eating their own tail. I mean, I think it's an Ouroboros
not just with Xbox, but the whole industry. There seems to be these practices going on that like.
I'm talking more Game Pass specifically, I guess, in that way.
Right.
But yeah.
Like what is our end game and like how do we reach like a new apex and not just keep going in circles with this whole like I guess you can kind of interpret our conversation as console war-ish. I'm not it's really not what it is, but I guess you could interpret that, and I guess I'm sorry if you do. But it's really not about who's better, Xbox or Sony. It's just about the different ways these two companies are going at the same outcome, which is to make money.
Right. And, Xbox had to change it up. They went through a shitty time.
And so did PlayStation.
And you got to try.
You got to remember, PS3 wasn't that great.
Again, we don't need to. I agree.
Yeah, but we got to because somebody here's the issue why I do that, because somebody on the same side of the fence will bring up the Xbox stuff, and it's okay to shit on Xbox, but it's not okay.
No,
to shit
I know,
on
but
Sony. And I shit on Nintendo enough. So
that's fair. I just guess they're not here. This is us. We're here to talk about Xbox. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't feel like I need to. And listen, like I said, PlayStation has its issues that I really dislike, but I just think at the end of the day. And I guess this is really the main point, I'm probably just repeating myself, is I think they are cutting their own legs off when it comes to console sales. I think that they will be a profitable brand if they continue in this route. And I think, Xbox will stay around as a publisher at the very least. But I'm never getting rid of my Series X because guess what? I do have a bunch of games on there that I love that I can still access, that I love. That I can go back and play my fucking purchased Xbox 360 games and it's just sitting in my thing.
Right.
I fucking adore that, Gooch.
Right.
I do.
Right.
That's why I would never get rid of that.
Right.
But from now on, when I'm going to get a third-party game, or even like the first-party games, I'm probably going to play through Game Pass most of the time because I can't buy it physically anyways.
I don't think that's a bad thing. Don't get me wrong. Like I don't want it to act like I'm being like, oh, you're bad for having Game Pass, but I don't have Game Pass because I like owning games physically and I like having stuff, and I don't buy into the all digital future. That's literally the only reason I don't have Game Pass is because I'm just not a subscriber to that lifestyle, I guess is what you want to call it.
You can just get regular internet like Xbox without it. Okay.
I have Game Pass Core. It's
okay. That's so yeah.
It's just like
live. I need to switch down to that because I have it, and there are some games I have been playing that the Crab Souls game. That's been fun. I feel like they're just again, and I think you're right to state that a lot of the industry is doing this. But Sony did try the more faster day and date thing with Horizon. I think it was, and I remember they were talking about it on Sacred Symbols, and they said that was they lost projectedly a lot of money on their games when they did that. Because it's free and available to these people. They put Horizon. I can't remember which Horizon. I think it was the latest one on PS Plus, like pretty quickly, or it was one of the services.
Forbidden West,
yeah, or I think it was the newest one.
Yeah, okay,
and,
yes,
and they
yes,
said their projection was that
with their subscription thing,
right?
Yeah.
Their projection was that they lost this
fucking called.
Yeah, the PS Plus, PS whatever.
Nobody knows what it's called.
Well, there's like 3 tiers or whatever. Platinum.
I know.
Yeah,
it's so funny that we just don't know. Even when I talk about PS Plus, whatever.
But even PS Plus, I'm not subscribed to that because there's not really a game thing or there's not online things. No,
I subscribed and I never stopped.
Hey, and listen, you do get the 2 games and stuff.
I streamed them. I needed the highest one.
I think you can you can sign up for that and play. One of what's the other one? What was the last PS5 game that they came? One of the big ones, Returnal. Like that's on there. You can sign up and play that at $15 for the month if you really wanted to. Like that stuff's cool, but that does stop me from buying that game for $30. And I think it stops a lot of people too. And maybe if I can and with them it's different because I could buy that physically and I could get that on a disc. And if Starfield I could get that on a disc and buy on an Xbox when it came out, I would have done that. But just this idea of everything being on this platform that, you know, will probably never go away. And we talked about this in our digital versus physical thing. I do not want to be reliant on that. I don't. And it sucks because that's the trend we are going towards. And again, it's not just Xbox. But it does make me sad that they've kind of made that unilateral decision, like I said. It's just, I am disappointed. I am. And I hope things kind of turn around. And
of course, there's nothing positive about it.
And then we get stuff. Then like this new Activision studio opens up, and
Toys
then you
for
get all
Bob's
this stuff.
back.
Like you start, and well, Toys for Bob never got. They just got let out of their. They got like, I think they just went independent. They weren't.
No, I think they're an Xbox team.
I thought that they. Okay, I might be wrong. Toys for Bob, because I thought we thought they were going to be closed, but then they were just turned independent, and but they're still working with Xbox on certain.
I thought they were getting folded in to be a Call of Duty, or they were.
No, I think they were going to. So yeah, so Toys for Bob. Let's see. God, I'm trying to look for the, because it's just talking about how they're teasing new
while we're looking
game.
that up, I think it is interesting to look. It's like a year from now, what Xbox looks like, and it's like, well, I almost shudder to say, were the closures, did that positively impact Xbox as a corporation, as a entity, as a games maker and console maker? Like, was it worth it? Like, I don't, obviously we're not going to know that.
It just,
is it ever, worth closing stuff? It seems like,
especially when they're talking about like a lot of the things when they were explaining this and like a lot of the leaks and stuff, where it was like they were having trouble hiring people. They needed to expand Tango specifically. They were like, they need more people on staff. So instead of doing that, let's just cancel them. And same with Arkane. Arkane, apparently it wasn't Redfall. It was staffing issues was a big part of it. And then they're making a whole new studio. And then they're talking about these games where they want these smaller games. Like, and maybe it can be argued that Hi-Fi Rush isn't as small of a game as we think it is. But you have these prime studios that you could shrink and give a much more condensed experience, especially in an Arkane line or even Tango Gameworks. Imagine them just doing a small Dishonored and sell it at $50 and spend maybe $50 million on it instead of $200 million.
They did that. It was called Death of the Outsider.
Right. And that's what, but like, well, that was kind of technically a DLC though, too, right? It was completely standalone.
I have it physically. Yeah.
Interesting. I did not realize that. But like, I guess it wasn't pitched. Well, it was pitched though, like as a DLC though.
It probably was.
Yeah.
But it is a standalone.
It is cool that you can get it standalone. Yeah. I don't know where Xbox goes in this next year. I don't think Xbox as a brand is going away. I think it will stay around as a publisher. I think we'll still see them put out many games and maybe take their pie that way, but I don't know how they make gangbusters on their console in the next generation. If all of this stuff is truly coming over as we think it is, and I do think it is.
So, what exactly is happening to those
studios? Good call. Let's go through it real quick.
Yeah.
So, Arkane Austin. This studio will close, with some members of the team joining other studios to work on projects across Bethesda. Arkane Austin, of course, has a history of making impactful and innovative games with a pedigree that everyone should be proud of. So this is their kind of spiel that they gave in the thing.
Yeah.
The games, and then so Redfall. So this was, I appreciate that they fixed this. Originally, they said Redfall's previous update will be its last, and we will end all development on the game. And I was like, there's still no offline mode when it comes to game preservation. Again, it's not an amazing. They did just come out finally and say they are putting in the offline mode, which I appreciate. Thank you, because from a game preservation point, I know that's not an amazing game, but at least you can go back and still be able to actually physically play it. So that's good. So the game servers will remain online for players to enjoy it, and then they will provide make-good offers for players.
It's kind of like if you spent money, they're gonna
they'll give you
incentivize, give you incentives or something.
Maybe
like
give
that.
me my money back. Thanks.
I mean, maybe that's what they mean. Maybe they
that
mean
would
Xbox
make more sense.
credit. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
Then that's fine.
I said incentives,
right,
and
right.
I literally meant nothing in particular.
Here's $5 off the next one. Oh, God. Okay, so Tango Gameworks. Jeez, will also close. Hi-Fi Rush.
Real quick before you move past Arkane. hearing that thought out, I don't think it's as bad as what you
Tango's
think.
the one that really, I think,
Like,
out of this is...
those people are not getting laid off. They're getting moved into different sectors.
Sure. So, well, I don't know how many of them are.
I mean,
that's the thing. So it's saying
yeah.
some of them... One thing that was really weird in that whole message from Matt Booty was like, please be respectful.
Yeah.
Please treat your leaving colleagues with
Like,
respect.
what does that mean?
It's like, what am I going to say? Fuck you?
Fuck,
like, yeah,
idiot.
Haha, loser. You
Yeah,
got fired.
like,
Like,
yeah, like,
what?
what?
It was so weird.
Yeah.
There isn't really much. So Tango's just closing. Doesn't say anything. Anyone from there is moving to anywhere else.
What doesn't make sense, especially about the small studio with the critical darling award stuff, they're also a Japanese studio,
Right,
and
which they've been
Xbox
trying
was
to expand upon,
get
yeah.
into, and now we're getting rid of them.
Right.
I don't know how that makes sense.
Sorry, text. So that's good. So Tango, there's really not much on that to be completely, or besides that, it's just getting closed. It says Tango Gameworks will also close. We're thankful for their contributions to Bethesda. Blah 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 blah. Hi-Fi Rush will be available on all platforms.
I'm curious why Shinji Mikami left. I'd be curious to see what he does next. Or
Didn't he like retire, but then come out of retirement to join a new?
to do Tango.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. That's how it was. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was after. Yeah.
Yeah. So it just I don't know. I kind of feel like they're not correlated, and they're not like it's more
Right.
coincidental that he left. I don't really think their closure had anything to do with
No,
it.
I think the closure had more. I don't think him leaving
And I think-
was as a cause of like he didn't. I don't think he thought Tango was going to close. I think he wanted to move on. But I
Right,
think
for his
that
own
then
reasons.
did probably sort of help them be like, well, they don't have any real big
Yeah, we
leadership.
didn't mention it, but Ghostwire Tokyo, I think, did this more than Hi-Fi Rush.
Right,
in
definitely.
my opinion.
But and listen again, I think that there's an argument
that game
to be
also-
made with.
Okay, it's it did I don't think that game.
For sure.
Like Ghostwire
Ghostwire.
Tokyo was just an okay
Yeah.
game from what I understood.
And listen, I said this earlier before, but I'll reiterate with Arkane Austin. I think that there is a world that you can maybe make that argument to me that they can be closed down, but at the same time, it didn't seem to have anything to do with Redfall. And the fact that Microsoft got Redfall from Bethesda and seemingly didn't realize how bad shit was going with it is another, I think, exemplary idea of the problems that I think Xbox faces. I do think that they are just I think they expanded way too quick, and they just didn't know how to manage a lot of these studios too. I think that's a major issue. But aside from that, I think you might be able to make the argument to me that Arkane Austin deserves to be closed. Fine. I'm not. I will still probably fight you on that. I still think they could have made something small and amazing, but fair enough.
Yeah.
Tango
They
is
could have
really
redeemed themselves,
I
yeah.
think they easily could have. Tango, on the other hand, it just seems like an unforced error, especially when you're announcing this new team and they were pitching new ideas. Both of these. But I digress. Next up, we got Alpha Dog Studios. This was their mobile studio. So this studio will close. They appreciate the team, of course, all that stuff. Mighty Doom will sunset on August 7th, and we will be turning off the availability to make purchases in game. So, again, Microsoft trying to lean into the mobile stuff. Close the mobile studio. Good
And
stuff.
maybe because they recognize, hey, Candy Crush and King is doing it better.
Right.
Why have this little game when maybe we could
Sure.
put more revenue.
Well, now you can just get
stuff.
full fucking games on there, apparently. Like, it is baffling to me that you can play Resident Evil 4 on your iPhone, whatever.
Yeah,
That is hilarious, yeah.
Maybe they closed them because their application, their reasoning for being a team, is kind of redundant. When
Again, these two
you have better pursuits in your other companies than Alpha Dog. No offense.
I know everyone who loses their job.
Clearly, a board member made some sort of decision like that.
You have all my sympathy in the world, but I hate to lower these guys'
right
acumen, but
Right.
it's just that those aren't as surprising to me.
or agree with the closure.
Right.
Yeah.
And then Roundhouse Games will. This was more of a support team. It seemed they will be joining ZeniMax Studios Online. They will play a key role, or they have played a key role in many recent game launches, bringing them into the ZOS network on the Elder Scrolls Online. In the meantime, they will help us grow that world. That's another quietly
like I said on the top, Tango and Arkane were the real
ones.
reasons for the conversation.
And Roundhouse seems to be still sticking around. They seem to be really being absorbed for the most
Right,
part.
they're being totally absorbed.
Yeah.
Right, it's just like, okay, like you were doing something before, but and shit like that happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
The current company I work for, absorbing companies, and you're kind of like part of another company, but you're still your own entity. Like the logistics of that are different for everything. Like and then do you lose your name? Do two companies become one? Do you join XYZ? It's
tough.
It can be a little weird, and it's very situational and circumstantial and different on a base to base thing.
Right. No, it's true, man.
I've been involved in acquisitions.
No,
it is a very interesting process
Absolutely.
to watch.
I think that there's some reasonable reasoning, for lack of a better term, to bring up on that. So, I mean, that's where we're at on the studio closures. I don't know how much more I have to say, Gooch. I am in a sore spot, and I appreciate our fiery debate, to be honest.
It was fiery.
It was fiery, but I love it. And, that's what we do these for, especially when it comes to something we both are passionate about. So it's good.
Yeah.
Well, it's a tough time for me, and I hope at least for me, this doesn't come from a place of just like wanting to be mad. And I think that there are people out there to do that.
Right. And I think that's what makes me kind of upset is like the lack of faith and the people so willing to sort of put Xbox on the curb and push their head into it. You know, and just like have no care. It's like, no, you do care about Xbox as a brand. Like when it really comes down to it, I don't believe that like you're so willing, not you.
No, of course. I know the euphemistic. Yeah.
You're so willing to just, throw them up into the air or throw them into the ocean. Like you just don't give a shit about them and let them drown and die. It's like, no, it's like, I think you should look at who you are as a consumer and a gamer and look at your practices and put your money where your mouth is. And if you believe in a studio or if you want to support Xbox, do so. But like, if you don't, then don't, but like, don't then cry wolf about a studio closing when you yourself didn't buy the game.
I do think with something like Tango, it's a bit of a different circumstance in the way of like some people physically could not buy that game, even if they wanted to. And those were PlayStation gamers. You know what I mean? And even like just with that shadow drop, I think for that specifically.
I look at that and I still don't think that was not a bad move, but I think it was an unnecessary exercise in what that looks like. Because, Apex did that. That was famously shadow dropped. I'm trying to think that
I think
Sony
on a more crowded year.
Yeah, Sony's done things like that, but I don't think it was not a huge loss. Like the Silent Hill thing, that was free though. They've
the
shot
mobile one? Yeah.
No, not the mobile one. The one with the girl.
Oh, right.
Yeah, there's a Silent Hill thing experience that was shadow dropped. But like, I'm trying to think. Maybe Sony hasn't done Shadow. No, Valhalla?
I don't think for anything, like I know.
Was the Valhalla
Hi-Fi
update?
Yeah, but that
again,
wasn't like,
it's not the
a game.
same.
It's not a full game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anything else though, Gooch, on this?
I don't think so. I'm glad we talked about Xbox.
I am too. We needed to talk about Xbox.
Yeah, it was, like you said, fiery conversation, but all things are good.
Oh, of course. No, absolutely. This is what we're here for. And we appreciate you all watching.
Yeah, and we're not experts
by any means.
We're giving opinions.
We're probably as much of an expert as someone who listens to sports podcasts are of that industry. Like,
exactly.
We pay attention.
It's something
probably
we care
more
about,
than,
something we have opinions about,
sure.
and something we're knowledgeable about. But like at the end of the day, we don't have this like key insider information that would probably actually.
We're two dudes sitting in a basement. To speak super like authoritatively on it.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was looking for.
I know exactly what you mean. No problem. Yeah. But thank you all so much for watching with us live on twitch.tv/Delco Nerd Network. You can find this podcast anywhere podcasts are found. Just search Delco Nerd Network. We're on all your favorite services as well. Podcast services, I should say. Just search us up. We got a link tree, all and that good stuff down below in this podcast. That'll take you to basically everything, all the platforms. We have a Facebook page. We got a Discord channel. We're at Delco Nerds on everywhere with an @ sign. You can find all this information on our website, DelcoNerdNetwork.com. You can even email us your comments, questions, or concerns to DelcoNerds@gmail.com. We'd be happy to get back to you. But for Gooch, I've been Trio. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay nerdy, and we will see you next time.